Have you seen the game film?
No, we didn't watch the film. We didn't, the offensive line, I didn't think wanted to collectively. We decided not to.
The footage shows Mike Utley, number 60 in blue, blocking David Rocker on a pass play. Rocker leaps to deflect the pass and tangles with Utley as he comes down. Utley falls head first, breaking his neck and rendering him a paraplegic.
You know, we're in the entertainment business in the NFL, but to have something like this happen, it takes it out of entertainment real quick.
Raymond Berry was not only in Detroit to witness the tragedy of Mike Utley, he was on the sidelines when defensive back Jeff Fuller suffered partial paralysis on this tackle, and was also there when wide receiver Darryl Stingley became a quadriplegic as a result of this play. Sadly, Stingley was watching the Lions game when Utley was struck down.
I relived the whole thing over again, like the accident, what happened to me, and it's kind of scary at first.
Incidents of permanent disability at every age level of football have declined in the past 15 years, and most cases result from violent downfield collisions, not the interior line play that resulted in Utley's paralysis.
He grabbed my hand and can kind of squeeze it, and couldn't squeeze it very hard at all. And he said, Coach, don't let this get away from us. Tell Kevin Glover to keep the offensive line going. That was his and then he put his thumbs up as he went off the field.
Last week's game ball is resting in his locker, and the players will wear number 60 on their helmets. According to the media guide, Mike Utley had terrific hands and feet. He'll no longer use those feet for pass protection or his hands for pass blocking. His goals will be simpler, if more important.
The initial thought that people have is, here's a man in a wheelchair and what a terrible thing this is going to be. And what you'll find is it's unbelievable what they can do and what a full life they can really lead.
With some adjustment, Mike Utley will again be able to drive a car and even return to the outdoor life, to his beloved hunting and fishing.
The only thing that, as a team, that we can do for Mike is try to win, because we don't have a cure for paralysis.
An exciting development tonight for people left paralyzed by spinal cord injuries. For the first time, researchers have been able to get injured human nerve fibers to regenerate.
Progress, yes, but Mike Utley will also be supported through the strength of prayer.
This is the guy that we should all respect, and this is the guy that's maybe tougher than all of us. If it would happen to anybody in this football team, God forbid, it happened to a guy that's going to be able to handle it. And I couldn't be prouder of Mike, and I couldn't be proud of this football team the way they've handled it.
I was covering the New England Patriots back in 1978 when Darryl Stingley was injured, and I always remember him saying afterwards that his spirit was alive, even if his arms and legs were not. There is a terrible beauty to football. It's a game of risk and collision, and Terry, you've experienced that.
You know, Leslie, it's just hard for me to do, because I remember back when Joe Jones picked me up in Cleveland and planted me on the ground, and when I laid there and couldn't move anything, first thing that came to my mind was a horrible pain that I was experiencing in my neck. Second thing immediately was, I'm paralyzed. I can't move anything. And then the shock hit me, and then that's when I became extremely scared. And then all the things that I went through, then slowly the hands came back. I remember they put my hands on my chest, and I looked at them, and they fell off. And then they put me on a board and carried me back on the top of the chairs on the plane, and sitting there in a hospital all by yourself, and slowly feeling my hands. I put my eyes in my hands as my fingers. I felt that, and then my feet. And so I'm a lucky man to be walking after coming off an injury like that. And I understand what Mike Utley's going through. I'm fortunate, and my prayers and my love to him, and certainly to his family.
As are those of all of us. And the Lions face an emotional day when they meet the Vikings today, but what is the mood of the Detroit team as they enter into this key NFC matchup? Randy Cross joins us live from the Metrodome for more. Randy?
You know, Greg, football has definitely taken a back seat this week in Detroit. And as Leslie mentioned, they'll be wearing a number 60 on the Detroit Lions helmets today. But also they'll be wearing T-shirts, players and the coaches wearing shirts with Utley's name and number on the back and the thumbs up on the front. The mental attitude is going to be critical today to the Lions, and I asked Barry Sanders last night, Barry, how many games do you guys have left? Barry said 8, and that's the right answer, because that's 4 regular season games, and that's 4 playoff games through the Super Bowl here in Minnesota. I think Detroit's going to be ready to go. Back to you,
Randy,
Greg.
thanks very much. When we come back, the officials under fire for some bad calls. That's next when we continue on the NFL Today.
15-yard scamper capped an electrifying fourth-quarter Lions rally. Today, the Vikes vow vengeance after this word from your local station. Defensive lineman Mike Utley injured in last week's game, but outwardly at least the players and coaches seem to be back on an even keel. My partner is Randy Cross. And Randy, how do you think the Lions will react today?
Well, you know, what I would say would just be a guess, but I talked to Wayne Fonts last night, and Wayne Fonts says, I really don't know. I won't know until we tee that ball up and kick off. One thing we do know is Wayne Fonts is going to be using two backs in the backfield for the first time today, featuring DJ Dozier back there with Sanders, and look for the Minnesota Vikings to go with 3 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 DBs for the passing game of Detroit. Minnesota hasn't gotten much of a pass rush lately, and they'd rather have the coverage.
Minnesota has won the coin toss and back deep. Herschel Walker, and Walker up near about the 27-28-yard line. So the Vikings will take over with decent field position. Rich Gannon at the helm for the Vikings, making his 8th start. Offensive line has veterans on the anchor ends, the tackles, Zimmerman and Tim Irwin. Herschel Walker, the power running back. Terry Allen, the change of pace back. Anthony Carter and Chris Carter, the wide receivers. There's a 21-yard return by Herschel Walker, 1st and 10. Walker in motion. And the pitch to Allen. And Allen across the 30 to about the 31. Called a 32, a 3-yard gain by Terry Allen, the first-year back out of Clemson.
And Chris Spielman's really the heart of this defense in the linebacker position that likes to stop the run. They were gashed 2 weeks ago by Tampa and are looking to rebound now against a good running game of the Minnesota Vikings. Guys up front, they're stuffers. Linebackers, they're pretty good run defenders, but the only real pass rush threat is Tracy Hayworth. And the defensive backs, you got cover guys on the corners, and both safeties, Blades and White, will stick you. And there is one intense linebacker.
Ball at the 31, 2nd and 7. Chris Carter in motion. Gannon back to pass. And Gannon is grabbed and dropped by Chris Spielman. Sack number 1 of the day for the Detroit Lions. 15 on the season. And if there's one guy who certainly thinks nothing but football, it's Chris Spielman.
And Chris Spielman is the kind of guy that he's just, look at this guy right here. Watch him come. He's all football. You can't see Chris Spielman doing anything but watch him concentrate first on the running back and then on Gannon. As he sees Gannon start to scramble, that's when he goes after him.
3rd and 9. Ball at the 30. Just underway. First possession for the Vikings. And Gannon drills it complete to Darren Nelson, but he's going to be shy about 3 yards of the first down he needed to get to the 39. Picked up 7 on a play, tackled by Ray Crockett.
And the Detroit defense has done something they haven't done much this year. That's get some early pressure on the quarterback. They really got a chance to get after Gannon, not only the last time, but this time. Look at the pressure. Jerry Ball, 93, the nose guard. He's a real deceptive guy. He's about 6 foot, 6'1", about 315, 320 pounds, but he's quick and can rush the quarterback.
Harry Newsom, the #1 punter in the NFC with a 46.6 average. Set to work. This one, not a good one. Low and hits out of bounds at about the 32. So the Lions will take over with very good field position. Eric Kramer getting the nod again. The offensive line, Lomas Brown, Eric Andosek, Kevin Glover, Tim Dallafor, the veteran in place, of course, of the injured. Mike Utley, Eric Sanders, the right tackle. Barry Sanders alone back with 4 wideouts, Perryman, Clark, Mike Farr, and Willie Green. Kramer making his 4th start in the NFL. 1st and 10, ball at the 32. It's a pass, 1 first down. Incomplete, threw in the direction of Willie Green.
And this Minnesota defense has been beleaguered this year. A lot of criticism, and nobody's taken more than Chris Dolman, whose sack total is way down this year. Guys up front, 2 linebackers. We talked about it earlier. We think they're going to go predominantly with 3 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and look at all the DBs. And Chris Dolman's job is not only to get after Kramer, but to contain Kramer, keep him in the pocket.
2nd and 10.
The pass.
And Kramer runs up near the 40. A pickup of about 8 on the play. Tackled by Ken Clark. Now, Randy, you mentioned just then that it was a pass coming up. What clued you there?
Well, we noticed in our studying of the films, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers with 1 in motion. If you see Detroit with 4 wide receivers and a wide receiver goes in motion about 90% of the time, it is a pass. We're going to keep track of that the whole day today.
3rd and 3. Ball at the 39.
DJ Dozier.
And Dozier, the ball carrier. And he's going to be close, but I don't think close enough.
I think he's just short, about a half a yard. And that's a real changeup. You know, DJ Dozier was here, was playing some professional baseball, then minor league baseball. Got waived. I mean, what do you get for a guy like DJ? What did they get him for? I'm sorry, they didn't waive him. They got him for like a 5th round draft choice. Detroit did, and they really consider that to be a steal. And he's a running back. I think this is what Wayne Fontes down the road wants to do. As you see, they come up just a little bit short there. It's going to be 4th and about a foot. This is what Wayne Fontes and the Detroit Lions want to do. They want to have 2 backs in the backfield, take some of the stress and the key off Barry Sanders. Looks like Detroit's going to go for it.
They send in Derek Tennell along with Tracy Hayward, who will play the tight end positions. So it'll be 4th and inches, and Wayne Fontes going for it. Ball at their own 41.
It's not too often you see a turning point in the 2nd series of the game, but not to get it here would be very critical for the Detroit Lions. I mean, this could be a thing, put them a real momentum, turn this game the other way into Minnesota's favor if they don't get it.
And Kramer keeps it himself, and it looks like he's got it. So Eric Kramer at 6'1", 195 decides on a quarterback keeper to take it in and get the first down himself. So Detroit keeps the drive alive.
And James, it would appear they got away with a little something. It looked like Hayworth, number 99, lined up the tight end position, was moving a little bit, but that wasn't called. Here's Hayworth. Look at him coming forward. Watch him go towards the line of scrimmage before this ball is snapped. See, he's going forward. You can't do that. Detroit and Wayne Fontes got away with one there.
1st and 10. Ball at the 42. Dozier in motion. On the option. This is Sanders. And Sanders juking his way up near the 49. An 8-yard scamper by Barry Sanders, finally tackled by Ray Berry, the 5th-year player out of Baylor.
And Barry Sanders, he's a running back. He can make you hurt yourself. He'll make a DB hurt themselves. We talked to Carl Lee. Carl Lee says you don't want to get this guy around air. If you got space around you, you got to settle down and actually stop and hope the troops rally around you and help you out a little bit, because you could pull a muscle trying to go in the directions this guy goes in.
It's like all the defensive players wanted to come into the game with whistles to whistle for some help. 2nd and 2. Dozier and Sanders in the backfield. Sanders, first down. Inside the 45 to about the 44. 6 yards picked up on a play by Barry Sanders. Finally stopped by Felix Wright. You know, Randy, so many teams have been throwing literally a defensive wall at Barry Sanders the last 5 games trying to stop Sanders. He's starting off aggressively so far.
But he's got a great attitude about it, James. As far as Barry Sanders is concerned, failure is losing. Success is winning. He does not get frustrated. He gets frustrated when they lose. He doesn't get frustrated when he doesn't get the yards.
Boy, don't you like that attitude?
It's highly unusual in today's mood. You see the Vikings coach's booth. Everybody's spotting, trying to figure out who exactly is on the field for Detroit. Dozier's back in the backfield.
At the 44 of Minnesota, 1st and 10. Play action. Out to Dozier. And Dozier runs out of bounds at the 40. 4 yards picked up on the play. Mike Merriweather running him out of bounds. We'll call it 3.
And this really is significant for Detroit. This is the first time in 1991 you've seen two running backs in a regular look when it's not short yardage and they don't have somebody back there just trying to jam the ball in there and block for Barry Sanders.
What's Fonts trying to accomplish with those two backs?
Well, I think when he's got DJ Dozier in there, he's got a guy that has the athletic ability to get out on the slot as a fourth wide receiver so he doesn't lose quite as much with a running back in.
2nd and 7. Sanders ahead for about 2. So the Lions looking impressive on their drive as they keep things alive, marching into Minnesota territory. Ball marked at the 38. 8:43 left in the first quarter of play. No scores. You take a look at Wayne Fonts in his 3rd full season as head coach with the Lions. 3rd and 4, ball at the 38.
Sorry, James. Lions are in that 4 wide receiver offense. Let's keep an eye out for that motion.
Kramer audibly changing the play at the line of scrimmage. Campbell in motion, so it should be a pass. And it's complete. First down and a whole lot more. Run out of bounds at about the 20. Brett Perryman, 4th-year player out of Miami. A 22-yard pass play from Kramer to Perryman, and Perryman was anxious to get to Detroit.
He really was. He was a little frustrated down in New Orleans. But as far as Minnesota's concerned, Perryman, here operating out of the slot, their number 80, is the key to this passing game. They focus on Perryman. They think things spin off of him. He's not the big gun. Robert Clark's the big gun. But the critical receiver in this run and shoot, as far as Minnesota's concerned, is Brett Perryman.
Barry Sanders alone back. 4 wideouts, 1st and 10 from the 17 of Minnesota. Sanders making room on his own. And in the end zone, touchdown, Detroit. 17-yard scamper by Barry Sanders. Randy, what a classic example of a guy making his own room with those shifty ankles of his.
You see Barry Sanders make the moves he makes on this run. You know why this is the best running back, if not the best player in the National Football League. Watch Jimmy Williams, number 58. Watch him freeze him. He just locks his legs. There's nothing he can do. He doesn't know where he's going to go. He just pushes off an attempted tackle by Felix right there to show you his strength, and then uses his speed and quickness to get in.
Just can't get a good hit on him as Eddie Murray comes on and bangs home the point after, and the Lions strike with 7:45 left in the first quarter of play thanks to the run by that man, Barry Sanders.
You're going to see the total package here in Barry Sanders' run. Just a little sprint draw that he takes in the opposite direction. It was designed to go through the middle. Here's the quickness. Here's the move. There's the strength. And here's some more of the quickness and speed and ability of Barry Sanders. He is this franchise.
Yard jaunt by Barry Sanders, and the Lions on top 7-0, 7:45 left in the first quarter of play. Detroit with a 10-play drive that covered 68 yards, took 5 minutes plus off of the clock. Eddie Murray booting, and Walker again across the 20. And Herschel Walker up around the 27-yard line. First time all season that Herschel Walker is returning kickoffs, a 17-yard return.
And Herschel looked a little hesitant there, taking kind of choppy steps and feeling his way around there. Well, we just saw a guy run for a touchdown in Barry Sanders. There's very little indecision involved. The only indecision on this play is all on the defense. The defense is trying to decide where he's going to go. Heck, he doesn't even know where he's going to go. Jimmy Williams guessed wrong. Felix Wright doesn't wrap him up. And now you're just flat out not going to get him as he goes into the end zone with that kind of velocity.
1st and 10, Vikings from the 29. Play action. And a fumble. And it's recovered by Kirk Loudermilk.
Once again, we saw in the first series, Jerry Ball getting that penetration. Gets in there again to get the pressure on Gannon. Here's Jerry Ball. Watch him coming from the nose guard. Just goes right through the attempted block by Habib, 74. And luckily for the Vikings, Loudermilk's there to cover that one up.
A loss of 11 on a play will bring up a 2nd and 21. Aaron Nelson at the back end with 3 wideouts. This is the purple package for the Vikings, and it's complete to Hassan Jones. And Hassan Jones got back to the original line of scrimmage.
And you still talk about that purple package, James. For the Minnesota Vikings, that's 3 wides and 1 running back. And they call the ace package when they have 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs. Which, you know, we talked to Jerry Burns about it. I said, that sounds kind of funny, really. I mean, if you got 1 running back, shouldn't that be ace?
Had to give it his own name. Nickel defensive package in for the Lions. 3rd and 10. Ball at the 29. 6:10 left in the first quarter. Gannon with time. Throws it complete to Nelson, and Nelson is about a yard shy of the first down marker. Good hit applied that time by Sheldon White. Jenkins and Sheldon White came up and hit him just 1 yard shy of the first down marker. So Harry Newsome comes on to punt it away for the Vikings. And they're looking to check themselves out to see the hit. Newsome having himself just one fantastic year, Randy. Number 1, as I mentioned before, in the NFC. Said he spent an awful lot of time simply working on his technique, holding the ball from the top in the drop, whereas some punters like to hold it underside.
You know, kicking is a lot like
The
golf.
catch has been ruled inbounds, a catch, 4th down, being reviewed by instant replay.
It's got to be just for the spot. That's got to be the only thing they're looking at here. Let's see exactly where the spot is and whether or not he got this first down.
Stand is called. It is 4th down.
And Tom Kelleher is our replay official, and good eyes on that one indeed.
They were just confirming the spot, exactly where that ball went out of bounds. But, you know, I was talking about kicking's kind of like golf. There's so many little intricacies and techniques. The swing's very similar. A lot of it's pace, a lot of it's motion. We saw Newsome miss that last one and hook that thing out left and short last time. There's really no excuse outside of a bad technique move to have a bad kick indoors like this.
Interestingly, Newsome was talking admiringly so of Roby down in Miami. He says it's just amazing that a guy like that doesn't leave that plant foot, doesn't go up in the air, the fact that he keeps it planted.
Well, have you ever seen it just come up about 2.5, 3 feet short? You ever seen those commercials for Iron Byron, the big machine that hits those golf balls?
Indeed.
Reggie Roby is football's answer to Iron Byron. Does the same thing every time and just knocks the heck out of it.
Jerry Burns knows how much this is a game of inches. The inches not in his favor on that play. Harry Newsome running back to Mel Gray. And Jerry Burns considers him the most dangerous return man in the NFL. He signals for the fair catch at the 19. So Detroit will take over 42-yard punt. In Minnesota, house inside the Metrodome.
Where's Jack Buck when you need him? Perfect shot from Ducks on the Pond.
No doubt about it. 1st and 10, Lions. Ball at their own 20. 2 backs in. Dozier and Sanders, play action. Incomplete. Intended receiver was DJ Dozier.
By no means is this NFC Central Division race over. And Detroit and Wayne Fonts keep emphasizing the fact they've got this game today. Remember, Thursday here on CBS, Thanksgiving Day. It's Chicago in Detroit in the friendly confines of the Dome. Detroit gets to play another game indoors, which always helps them. Very critical the next 10 days for these Detroit Lions. Could be the hinging part of their season as far as getting a division crown.
2nd and 10.
The pass.
And complete for the first down as well. Robert Clark. Detroit with a 13-yard pass play as Robert Clark hauls it in.
Once again, Detroit in the 4 wide receivers. You get a motion, it's a pass. And Robert Clark just running a simple little out pattern, just a simple timing pattern, something people don't usually expect from this 4 wide receiver offense. And Robert Clark is the big threat. He's the big play man here for Detroit.
Farr in motion. Kramer has time and throws it incomplete. The ball was absolutely catchable that time by Robert Clark. And boy, would he like to have that one again. Mike Merriweather in the territory. I'm sure he heard the patter of the feet.
In talking to Chris Dolman on Friday, he told us, look, I'm doing the best I can, but I get double teamed a lot. I play a lot against a lot of all-pro, Pro Bowler types, but I usually have 2 guys working on me. This time, he's got 1, and he is a Pro Bowler. Lomas Brown, 75, the left tackle, does a fine job on Dolman.
Brown missed last week's game because of a shoulder injury. Back in the lineup. 2nd and 10. And Kramer throws it complete to the dangerous one, Sanders. And Sanders had 3 guys with their mouths hanging open and picked up 5 yards. You know, we had Paul Wiggin, the defensive line coach of the Vikings, in talking with us. He says, you know, you really hate to see this guy Sanders coming at us, Randy. His running ability is just so awesome.
And what he does, he runs extremely low to the ground. Well, the good Lord built Barry fairly low to the ground to start with, but he's got legs. Paul Wiggins right there, you see this back to us. He has got legs like a linebacker to keep him about 6 inches off the ground, it seems at times.
3rd and 4. Kramer with all kinds of time. Actually stepped on the back of the feet of Lomas Brown and is sacked. A loss of 8 on the play.
And Henry Thomas has been a great addition, not addition, but a great improvement. Here you see it working right here. He's been a great improvement this year from a pass rushing standpoint for Minnesota. You see, he's reading Barry Sanders. He's looking for the draw. Now he's rushing the passer late against Dallafour. Dallafour goes for the cut, misses, and Thomas gets in there. There's the defensive line coach, Paul Wiggin.
No, he loves it as Henry Thomas picks up his 8th sack of the season. Arnold punting this one away. Leo Lewis back from his own 19. And Lewis is smacked by Carl Lee and flattened. So it'll be Minnesota ball as we sort things out on the field. Boys will be boys. A 51-yard punt, 9-yard return. Lions only have 15 sacks on the season, and part of the reason the absence due to that man right there, Mike Kofor.
Not only the best conditioned, but I think probably the best all-around football player on this Detroit Lions team. You know, Barry Sanders is a great running back and a great everything, but you get a guy like this size, this strength, this dedication. He's made a big difference not being in for the Detroit Lions this year, especially getting after the quarterback. But today, a guy half a foot shorter than him, Jerry Ball's getting the pressure off the nose.
1st and 10. Jordan in motion. The pitch to Allen. Runs into a horde of Lions for no gain. Dennis Gibson leading the way. Gibson, 5th-year player out of Iowa State.
And talking to Rich Gannon Friday, he says, I like this Terry Allen. He goes, Allen is a positive yardage runner. If we've got a play that stretches out to the side like that one, if he sees it shut down, he says, Terry Allen will just put his head down and run straight ahead. He goes, he'll get positive yards. He's not the kind of running back that'll lose 3 or 4 yards trying to make something happen.
What a bargain for the Vikings. A 9th-round draft choice in 1990 who's been playing like an early rounder. 2nd and 10. 2:49 left in the first quarter play. Lions on top, 7-0.
Showing blitz.
Complete to Steve Jordan, and Jordan gets near the first down marker. Let's see where they mark it. Right now for an NFL Today update, let's take you back to New York and Greg.
All right, JB, at RFK Stadium, the 11-0 Redskins looking to go 12-0. Troy Aikman of the Cowboys picked off by Martin Mayhew, who goes 31 yards down the sideline. With the extra point, Redskins leading Dallas 7-0 in the first. James?
All right, Greg, and what a boost for Martin Mayhew, who had a horrible preseason. As a matter of fact, most of the Redskins staff thought that might be the weak point.
And here we'll take a look at that last play with Jordan. Did he get the first down? Ooh, that's hard to call. But I think they said his knee or the ball. It must have been the ball. Got right there at the mark. Because if he did make it, and he didn't make it by much.
Well, that's what happens when you are a perennial all-pro tight end. Steve Jordan getting the favorable spot. He is indeed a superb player. 10 years in the league.
And that leaves him 1 catch short, James. of breaking the all-time Vikings reception record.
Gannon 4 of 4 on the afternoon for 38 yards. At a timeout. We'll be back in a moment. Quiet packed house here at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, trying to get something to cheer about. Right now, the Vikings trail the Lions 7-0. The only little thing to cheer about, that last catch by Steve Jordan, who's been doing it for 10 years. And as you mentioned, Randy, that last catch brings him within 1 of tying the all-time reception record set by Ahmad Rashad. 1st and 10. 2:12 left in the first quarter play. Walker not much doing as he runs into a wall by the name of Jerry Ball.
It's maybe a retaining wall, James. He's not very tall. It's a retaining wall like Jerry Ball. But I think this is the best nose guard in the business right now, Jerry Ball. Jerry Ball can control a center. Talking to Rich Gannon Friday, he says, look, Kirk Loudermilk, our center, we're not going to leave him alone on Jerry Ball very much. He's not the kind of guy you try to block with just one player. You've got to have at least 2 guys on Jerry Ball.
2nd and 8. Ball at the 40. Gannon has to come back to the left. Flag on the play as Gannon runs for the first down, but that flag was thrown in the backfield. And Randy, I've learned with you, that's usually holding.
That's coming back. It's going to be a hold on the offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, no. Little hands in the face on a defensive lineman.
Tom Dooley, the referee for today's crew.
So there is occasionally justice in the pits. They do call defensive guys for things once in a while.
We got illegal use of hands. Number 93 defense. It'll be 5 yards.
And Wayne Fonts can't believe that they would call that one on Jerry Ball.
Does that look on his face say it all? It's like, he what? And here's Jerry Ball working against Brian Habib. Let's watch the hands. Jerry Ball working right here against 74 Habib. Watch Jerry Ball's hands. They say it got up around the sinus area. Push, push, push. Yes, got that right hand in there up under the face mask.
Well, the result, a 1st and 10 for the Vikings. Ball marked at the 47 of Detroit. Alfred Anderson in motion. This is Allen. And Allen spinning his way ahead inside the 40. Finally tackled by Jerry Ball. 4 yards gained on the play.
And Jerry Ball, you talk about a nose guard, you think of a guy that can stuff the run. Watch Jerry Ball come all the way around Loudermilk here and make this tackle about 15 yards away. Watch him, throws off the center. Now the pursuit. This is a fast, big man. He will make tackles all the way to the sidelines at times. You watch tapes of him, it really jumps out at you as a guy's pursuit ability.
Take a look at the gloves of Jerry Ball. He's got number 60. Mike Utley's number on his gloves. And Anderson gets the call as Anderson gets up maybe about a yard shy. We'll see where they mark his forward progress.
And that's exactly what it's going to be, James. His forward progress is they're going to be right there next to the first down marker because they got good push right in the middle. The Vikings talk about Detroit's strength running-wise. Run defense is the middle with Jerry Ball and Chris Spielman.
And that's the end of the first quarter as Wayne Fonts Lions lead the Vikings by the score of 7-0. At 7-0 start of the second quarter here at the Metrodome, and the Lions as a team have avoided publicly saying that they're playing this game for Mike Utley, but as you can see, we mentioned on Jerry Ball's gloves the number 60 in tribute to Mike Utley. All the players are wearing number 60 on their helmets. And of course the t-shirts, Randy, that you talked about as well during the NFL Today pregame show.
There's that number 60 on the side of Mark Spindler, defensive end's helmet.
3rd and 1 for the Vikings.
Herschel Walker is a very good leaper. You look for him to go over the top here.
Vikings are 0 for 2 on 3rd down conversions, and Walker heading up top as you indicated, Randy, and I don't know. Let's see where they mark this one.
I think they got a pretty good spot on that, James. It's going to be a first down.
Okay. We'll see if Tom Dooley agrees with you. And I guess it's close enough that Mr. Dooley wants a measurement. Well, Randy, while they're measuring as well, Mike Utley had said through his agent, Bruce Allen, that he wanted to thank all the thousands of fans that had sent in cards, letters, and their prayers, and that his attitude is improving, and that today he was anxious to watch the game and watch his Lions play, and certainly wishing them the best as well. But Randy, your eyes haven't failed you yet. First down for the Vikings. I wish they could see the grin on your face here. And believe it or not, Jerry Burns is smiling, although you don't see it visibly.
See, remember, I played offensive line, James. I wasn't a quarterback or a coach with these big victories. I have to take enjoyment out of little victories.
The little things. Allen and Anderson in the backs. First and 10. Ball at the 32. Gannon to pass. Gannon being chased by Dan Owens. Sacked. Fumble. Still loose. And it looks like Detroit recovered the ball. Dan Owens with his 3rd sack of the season, 16th of the year for Detroit.
If Big Jerry Ball 93's on that thing, you might pop it.
Well, they've got, what, 24 balls that they start the game with? And it is Detroit ball. Let's see if it's still inflated.
Well, Chris Spielman's the wrong guy to get into a big jumble and a big pile with a ball loose in the bottom. He's liable to chew somebody's arm off to get at that thing. See it again. Watch Owens just, you know, we're talking persistence. He stays with it long enough so he gets a shot on Gannon. Now it's just fair game. This thing starts, this is fractured flickers here. This thing's bouncing all over. Spielman gets to the bottom of the pile, crawls through, and comes up with it.
Quarter action here at the Metrodome. Detroit on top, 7-zip, 14:08 left. Barry Sanders, the shifty one, doing the job, of course. And Minnesota having turned the ball over. Give Detroit some credit. Randy, going back to the top of the game, it looks like Detroit is playing emotionally.
From the standpoint of emotions and intensity, Detroit is on top of their game right now. They haven't made any dumb mistakes, and their level is up here. It's managed to bring it up from last week where it was a little bit low. This week it's up around here.
Back to live action here as Barry Sanders takes it ahead. That fumble recovery by Detroit on the last series, 9th of the season for them.
And we'll be able to see the hit in the whole thing here. First, Owens on Gannon. Now the ball comes loose. Now watch for Spielman come in from the right side of the screen. He sees the ball right next to Jerry Ball, and right there, just gets in there. Then they have to pile on.
Mr. Intensity, Chris Spielman, in his own world. 2nd and 6. Kramer, busted play, has to take it himself, and smartly goes down. 2nd sack, and that one goes to Jimmy Williams. Right now, let's take you back to New York and Greg.
JB, first play of the 2nd quarter in Tampa. Reggie Cobb finds an opening and goes 27 yards, and the Bucs and the Giants are tied at 7 in the 2nd quarter, JB.
All right, Greg.
You know, in that Tampa Bay, New York game, earlier in the game, Dave Meggett took a punt back 70 yards for a touchdown to put New York up 7-0 originally.
3rd and 10. Sanders the lone back. 4 wideouts. Sanders the ball carrier. And Sanders shifty and juking his way across the 40 to about the 41. Barry Sanders about maybe 2.5, 3 yards shy of the first down marker, and that takes Barry Sanders over the 1,000-yard mark. 7th player in NFL history to rush for 1,000 yards in his first 3 seasons. And Randy, I think we'll see him racking up quite a few of those.
And as you take a look at the rest of the guys he now has joined, you got to realize Barry Sanders is probably the only running back in the league that is a regular weapon on 3rd down, running the ball against a nickel defense. Wayne Fonts loves to run him against the nickel.
Arnold hunting for Detroit. Leo Lewis pushed way back and lets it go. Let's see the touchback signal. And there it is. So the Vikings will get it at their own 20. Vikings have not been able to get much going. 1st and 10, ball at their own 20, 12-10 left in the first half, and Jerry Burns doing his best to get something sparked here. First and 10 for the Vikings on their 20.
Nothing gets these guys going for the Minnesota Vikings more than getting their ground game going.
Walker. And Walker grabbed from behind. Gain of 4 on the play.
You know, James, I talk about the ground game and how important it is to Minnesota. As Brian Habib leaves the game, is replaced by Todd Kalis at guard. Habib blew his shoe there.
Blew a shoe.
Blew a shoe. You talk about the ground game for the Minnesota Vikings. In games where they run the ball 30 times or more, they're 6-0 this year. In games they run less than 30, they're 0-6.
And right now, the Vikings have run the ball a total of 9 times. Terry Allen, the lone back. Gannon fake to Anthony Carter, throws it to Allen, and Allen has the first down. Terry Allen, good run as he gets across the 30, tackled by Melvin Jenkins. A little help from Benny Blades. Terry Allen, the 12th leading rusher in the NFC, showing his hands ability that time.
For about the 3rd time today, Minnesota's brought Anthony Carter in motion around the halfback, and they fake him a screen over here. Herschel Walker and the offensive line go out this way and set this thing up. Watch the deception. You got the motion, got the defense's attention, a quick pump fake, they flow a little bit, and that sets the screen up for Minnesota, enables Herschel to get that first.
Chris Carter in motion, handoff to Herschel Walker, and Walker, good run as he gets a 35 to about the 37-yard line. 6 yards carried by Herschel Walker, tackled by George Jameson.
Walker started this year sort of what you might refer to as the speed of light. He was going to have a career year through the first 3 games. He was going crazy. It would have gone out. His total rushing would have been fantastic. Look what he's done in the last 9 games. He's gone down to a cloud of dust.
And today, 4 carries for 13 yards for Herschel Walker. Allen and Walker, the split backs out of the pro set. Play action. Gannon. Good coverage. Walker open for the first down. Herschel Walker continued to work hard, finally freed himself. It was great coverage up to that point. William White was a defender. 13-yard pass play from Gannon to Walker.
The only reason Herschel Walker got a chance to catch that and Rich Gannon got a chance to throw that was the offensive line for Minnesota does a fabulous job of pass protection. See a quick play action fake to Walker. Now he's standing back here forever. Herschel literally was his 4th to 5th person on that pass.
Ball across midfield at the 49 of Detroit. 9:20 left in the first half of play. Lions on top, 7-zip. Allen. And Allen ahead for maybe 3. We'll call it 2 yards. Tackled by Dan Owens.
You know, when you talk about first downs, James, I really believe the key to first down is gaining 4 yards. Whether you do it with your pass or you do it with your run, you want to get into the situation where you're 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, right in there. That opens up your playbook. That enables an offense as diversified as Minnesota to put a running back out in the slot, to go with a single backfield, to throw the little dink passes, to take some chances. You start getting into 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, you're almost telling the defense, well, we've got to throw on this down.
Well, that might be the case here. This is a 2nd and 8. Ball at the 47. Dance work by Dan Owens. This is Terry Allen. And fumble. Looks like Detroit may have recovered. Tracy Hayworth.
Tracy Hayworth's got
to be the man on top of it. So 2nd turnover by Minnesota and 2nd fumble recovery by the Lions. 10 fumble recoveries on the year for the Lions.
See Jerry Burns pointing up towards the ceiling. I don't know if anybody up there can help you, but maybe the replay official will take a look at that. We'll see it another time. Keep an eye. Look at Dan Owens, 90. Jumps once, jumps twice. Looks like he's got something stuck in his shorts. Is he down when this ball comes loose? I don't know. They're going to have to look at that. It looks like his left knee was on the ground as that ball was coming out. One more time. Watch his knee. Can't really see it from that angle. We're better off on the other one. But it would appear from the other angle we had that knee was down.
And speaking of down, Benny Blades the down Detroit Lions player who's finally sitting up. We'll be back in just a moment.
While we were away, they were reviewing this, and it's going to stay as a fumble. Watch. The ball comes loose right. Jimmy Williams is taking that thing out right now. It is loose. Fumble's been called.
And Detroit ball back to live action. Little screen pass. And Perryman finally run out of bounds at about the 47-yard line. Only 2 yards picked up on the play. We'll bring up a 2nd and 8.
One more time on that critical fumble a couple plays ago on Allen. Now, you want to be an official? Look how slow this is. This is super slow-mo. The guys live have got to call it. You telling me you could tell the difference between the time that knee hits and that ball gets out? That was a good call by the official.
Sanders the lone back, 4 wideouts, 2nd and 8, ball at the 47. 8 minutes left in the half. Sanders on the draw, and Sanders still spinning and finally gang tackle. Leading man was Mike Merriweather. 6 yards picked up on a play. Right now, let's head back to New York and Greg.
JB, watch this one at RFK Stadium. Emmitt Smith finds a hole and bolts 32 yards. He's over 1,000 for the first time in his career. It's a 7-7 tie at RFK. James?
All right, Greg, and Dallas always plays Washington well, no matter what the record, as we well know. Take a look at some of the big fellows for Detroit. And
Jeff Owens and Cannell in for the Lions, so they're going for the power run.
3rd and 2 as Kramer calls a timeout. The Lions only 1 of 4 in 3rd down conversions. So the Lions burn off a timeout. Minnesota and Detroit both with 2 left. Housekeeping being done to Benny Blades. And Randy, this is the time of the year when everyone has to play with nicks, bruises, and bumps.
And it doesn't help when you're already banged up and you come into a game and you get bruised ribs like Benny Blades did. You know, originally from the bench they said it was a bruised rib. It is impossible. You can't bruise just one. I mean, they're too small, they're too tight of an area. You got to bruise a bunch of them if you do one.
I like the expression you just gave me during the commercial break.
Kind of like the potato chips. You can't just have one. That's true.
3rd and 2. Play action. Incomplete, thrown in the direction of DJ Dozier. Will bring up a 4th down punting situation for the Lions. As Jim Arnold comes on.
You know, Wayne Fontes' options were pretty limited right there. Once he came back, Kramer came back and showed it was a pass, he was only really going to throw it to either Dozier or Barry Sanders. The 2 offensive linemen that were in a tight end, they're not going to throw it to the offensive lineman. The one tight end that they have in there, Cannell, they hardly ever, I mean, even in practice, they don't throw him passes. So you know that in that situation, they had to go to one of the 2 backs, and they had both of them covered easily.
So the tight ends would have been surprised as well. Arnold. Leo Lewis signaling for the fair catch and does so at the 15. Coming your way this Thursday, a Thanksgiving day of NFL action starting at 12 noon with a special edition of the NFL Today. We'll profile Bears quarterback Jim Harbaugh, an emerging leader on and off the field. And Pat O'Brien will take us around the NFL to meet some players who care and who are making a difference in their communities. Then it's game time with Chicago taking on Detroit in an important NFC matchup with playoff implications. That's all coming your way Thanksgiving Day. Take a look at Jerry Burns.
People wonder why Detroit plays so good on Thanksgiving Day. It's really simple. As Wayne Fontes told us yesterday, it's our only chance for respect.
Herschel Walker running with authority and getting some respect on that run for the 1st down. Finally tackled by Melvin Jenkins. Herschel Walker with a power run that time.
Now Herschel's going to take this ball and head this way. Watch the pursuit of the Lions defense. Watch how many of these guys get put on the ground. There's one, Hayworth's down, Spielman's down, White is down. Good job by the Minnesota Vikings offense, getting that ball to Herschel.
Herschel Walker thus far, 5 carries for 25 yards, 6:18 left in a half. Vikings trail 7-zip. 1st and 10 from the 27. Steve Jordan in motion. This is Alfred Anderson, the fullback, and he's driven back. Jerry Ball along with George Jameson on the tackle.
Jerry Ball said, you can try that running stuff outside. Don't come in here. And Minnesota struggling early. I mean, early they're struggling when they're punting. Then they're just bumbling the last 2 possessions with 2 fumbles.
And part of that early struggle may well be traced to the fact that neither Anthony Carter or Chris Carter have any catches. Three wides. Alfred Anderson, the lone back. 2nd and 9. Thrown in the direction of Anthony Carter. Beyond his outstretched hands, Melvin Jenkins, the right corner on the coverage.
And a good job by Tracy Hayworth getting in there and knocking Gannon down and distracting him from that throw.
Live here at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. And indeed, this is a crucial NFC Central Division matchup between the Lions and the Vikings. Lions on top 7-zip. Minnesota with a record of 6-6. Detroit with a record of 7-4. Lions have won more than 7 games only 3 times in the past 20 years.
Minnesota's got playoffs on their mind. Detroit's got catching Chicago in the Super Bowl on their mind.
Minnesota has first down in mind here on the 3rd and 9. Let's see if Nelson can do it. And he gets up for the first down. Good second effort by Darren Nelson.
And Nelson's the player that gives these Detroit Lions a hard time, gives them a little trouble, especially the way Minnesota uses them. They have Herschel Walker, they have Terry Allen, and suddenly now you pop in a Darren Nelson at running back and you run a little screen off to the right-hand side. He's got a totally different running style. He's more of a sharp darter, more of a hitter. Herschel kind of glides. Terry Allen attacks. Darren Nelson just kind of goes where they ain't.
3 catches for 27 yards. 1st and 10. Herschel Walker to the top of your screen. Wide receiver. And this is Allen. And Allen stumbles, and that stumble cost him as he ran into Anthony Bell. Gain of only 1 on the play. Well, Randy, you talked about the various change-ups, if you will, that Jerry Burns has at his disposal in the backfield, and they've got some excellent wide receivers. What's been the difficulty getting cranked up for the Vikings over the years?
It's hard to say. I think, to be honest with you, Carl Lee said it best. Accountability is the key word. Now, whether you're a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, a coach, a backup, on injured reserve, you got to be accountable for your actions. If they're good, you'll be praised. If you're bad, you should be ripped.
On 2nd and 9, Gannon throws it complete to Carter, Anthony Carter, and he steps out of bounds across the first down marker. So first down for the Vikings. Melvin Jenkins pushed him out of bounds.
And Anthony Carter's had sort of a down year so far in 1991. Chris Carter's gotten the lion's shares of the catches, but working against Jenkins, a little push off by both players. Jenkins getting the worst of that one. And Anthony Carter is the kind of guy that can bust a game loose. He's capable of having a 200-yard game.
92nd straight game with at least 1 reception. Only his 39th catch of the year. Walker, the lone back. Now the ball carrier. Walker dips his head and goes ahead for about 3. We'll bring up a 2nd and 7 with 3:15 left in a half. Vikings trailing by 7.
You know, Herschel Walker's a guy the Detroit Lions want to go east and west. They want Herschel Walker running sideways like there. When Herschel Walker's is most effective is when he gets a head of steam and he's going from goalpost to goalpost, just running north and south.
Walker on the sidelines, catching his breath. 2nd and 7. Ball at the 48 of Detroit. Play action. Gannon being chased by Hayworth. Complete to Jordan, and that ties the all-time reception record of Ahmad Rashad, number 400 for Steve Jordan. A 23-yard pass play.
Steve Jordan comes from the left tight end position, and luckily for Gannon, Jordan comes open here working right behind the zone there. You see it, Gannon just lobs that thing right over the top of the zone. Jordan's in the perfect position.
Steve Jordan, 10 years in the league out of Brown University.
And Rich Gannon is 9 of 10 and 102 yards so far in this game. And Minnesota here is finally in the first half putting together a drive, getting some consistency. They're not fumbling. They're not bumbling. Here's Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. The brain thrust behind this offense. Well, the big question now for Minnesota, though, is can the Vikings finish this off? Can they finish it off with a score?
They're in excellent field position. Ball at the 25 of Detroit. 1st and 10. Nelson. Halfback option. Throws it. Looking for Anthony Carter. Touchdown, Minnesota. Career pass thrown by Darren Nelson. 5th touchdown reception on the season for Anthony Carter. Well, Carter had been telling us, Randy, all week, hey, I'm still capable of the big plays. He delivered that time. The squad Reves comes on to attempt the point after. And we've got a tie ball game here at the Metrodome. Knotted up at 7 apiece. 1:53 left in the first half.
You see Anthony Carter talking on the sideline. Where's the guy that threw you that touchdown pass, Anthony? Where's Darren Nelson? Because, I mean, this thing sets up well. Watch Nelson start this way, and then it's pass. Gets that ball in his left hand. He throws this thing. This thing has more airtime than Eddie the Eagle Edwards had in the last Winter Olympics. That thing hung up there for 5 seconds. Every defender was trying to get to Carter, but he was so wide open. Look at this.
All right.
Nothing to it. Nothing to it. This quarterback stuff's easy for a Stanford guy.
And you knew that Anthony Carter also knew major league hits coming my way when this ball finally gets here.
And he got a major league hit, too, because as long as that thing stayed up in the air, 3 of the defenders had a chance to get after him. And in the second quarter, look at that offense. First quarter, it was all Detroit. Second quarter, just the opposite.
Well, you asked where was the guy who threw the ball. He finally made his way over.
You know, it's funny seeing a Stanford guy throw the ball after watching that Stanford-Cal game yesterday on TV. Stanford ran the ball 55 times. I mean, I live in the Bay Area. Stanford throwing the ball that many times is totally unheard of with their history of great quarterbacks.
Denny Green showing a little something different, a little variety. As Reves comes on to kick off to the Lions. He's got a seam. Got to beat the punter. Now Rutland. Well, Jerry Burns said he is the most dangerous return man, and there was clear indication of why he said that. Mel Gray. A 70-yard return by Mel Gray. Watch this thing open up right through here. Mel Gray is just going to go. You can't coach this. It's like coaching a boxer. You can't coach a guy how to knock a guy out. He either can or he can't. And Mel Gray just has a feel for where those 11 guys are trying to tackle him, and he evades them. That quickly, the ball at the 27 of Minnesota. 1:44 left in a half. This is Sanders. Sanders outrunning the purple jerseys to the 20. Randy, now that was simply awesome. A 7-yard pickup on a part of Barry Sanders, and he had at least 4 jerseys basically on top of him.
They were all over this guy. And watch what happens here. I mean, this is impressive. We keep talking about Barry Sanders, but what this guy can do will just dumbfound guys who try to watch it and amaze them. Look at it. He got caught inside on that one and bounces it out and still manages to get 7 yards.
They've marked it at the 19. It'll be 2nd and 2. Incomplete, and there's a flag thrown from the end zone. Intended receiver was Mike Farr.
And I think they're going to get Carl Lee, number 39, for a little tug hold on the back of Mike Farr.
Tom Dooley trying to sort things out down on the field.
How come if only one guy called it, they got to talk to all 5?
Disregard the flag. There is no foul. The ball was uncatchable. Start down.
Well, Wayne's trying to figure that one out. Net result will bring up a 3rd and 2 for the Lions.
And Wayne's argument to that is, hey, my guys can catch anything. That wasn't uncatchable.
Ball at the 19.
4 wide receivers. Look for the motion. No motion is run.
And Sanders on the run, but he's grabbed by Henry Thomas, Mike Merriweather, and company.
And that's the best way to handle Barry Sanders. Get a hit on him and hope 4 or 5 of your friends can come wrap him up and stop him.
The help better come. We'll see if the forward progress enabled him to pick up 1 yard on the play. And if so, it will bring up a 4th and 1.
Well, Detroit will bring kicker Eddie Murray, and they're going to go for 3 points there and take it at the end of the half.
And Minnesota whistles for a timeout. That leaves them with 1. We'll be back in a moment. 7-7 as Wayne Fonts sends on Eddie Murray for what will be about a 27-yard field goal. But let me ask you, any possibilities for a trick play here and the run for the first down or the pass?
Well, I think you play the percentages and you kick this field goal, you take your 3 points. If you go for it on 4th and you don't get it with 1:07, let's say there's a minute left when they get the ball back, Minnesota's very capable of striking quickly and putting you on the bottom end of the score at the half.
It's up. And it's good.
Kick is good. Lions 10, Vikings.
So Murray with a 37-yard field goal and a 10-7 lead. Percentages. Lions on top 10-7. Jerry Burns' squad with 1 timeout remaining. Detroit with 2. And 1:03 left in the half.
Plenty of time for Jerry Burns and the Minnesota Vikings to move down this field. They'll get the ball back with just a little bit under a minute left when their offense takes the field.
Coming up on the NFL Today Dockers halftime report, Greg and Terry will have all the scores, highlights, and latest information from around the league. Murray kicking off to the Vikings. And it will be Walker again from the 7. And Walker still on his feet. Finally tackled by Nico Noga. So Minnesota will take over with 56 seconds left in the first half of play. Ball marked at their own 20. Vikings with 1 timeout remaining.
The critical thing here for the Detroit Lions is, can they continue to get pressure on Rich Gannon? Minnesota was able to run the ball, use a few trick plays, little screens, and move the ball down the field last time. But can they get this thing, can they get after Gannon with the pass rush?
First and 10. Gannon heads nowhere as Ray Crockett leads the Pride of Lions. And Randy, that's kind of a head scratcher in terms of that play.
Well, if that wasn't a broken play, it's a heck of a way to run out the clock.
Well, a loss of 2 on the play, and a dangerous one at that.
Got to get this ball to Chris or Anthony Carter. One of the Carter guys has to get a pass in.
Well, they go to Chris this time. And Chris up to the 22. 35 seconds left in the first half of play. Chris Carter, I loved your comment And you said, boy, what a $100 acquisition on the part of the Vikings.
You know, people talk about the Herschel Walker trade and how terrible that was here. They gave up too much. They didn't get this. Just think, ladies and gentlemen, what the Minnesota Vikings got for $100 this year. They got their leading receiver. He's having a career year.
Came into the game with 56 catches. 3rd and 7. And it's complete to Nelson. And Nelson has the first down. Trying to get out of bounds. Does not. William White keeps him inbounds, so Minnesota will have to burn off its last timeout with 22 seconds left.
And they
12 yards picked up on a play by Nelson.
And they hesitated there, James, and lost 3 or 4 seconds. Little indecision after Nelson went down. They should have immediately had a plan to call that timeout. Taking a look at it, Nelson's been a big factor coming in here late in the first half. He's just that change of pace guy. We've mentioned that he's given Detroit problems. He's had a few key screens, good carries, and a touchdown pass so far. And obviously you can see the Lions have a little bit of a problem making this tackle. There's the hesitation. Anthony Carter knows he wants a timeout, but unfortunately there's no officials around him.
We talked with Jerry Burns about his philosophy of coaching, whether he was a real hands-on guy or one who delegates responsibility, and he had an interesting response.
Great answer. Jerry Burns tells us, you know, guys, I look at the game plan on offense, I look at the game plan on defense, I look at the game plan on special teams. I'm in charge of atmosphere around here. I'm on the sideline. I'm in charge of atmosphere. I make sure everybody's happy. They get their water. They got their towels. You know, they're smiling.
He and John Robinson of the Rams believe in delegating responsibility. 1st and 10, ball at the 34. 22 seconds left. 4 wideouts in for the Vikings. Gannon unloads it quickly, and it's complete to Chris Carter for a first down across midfield.
And throwing the ball on these patterns to the corners and out of bounds, this is where they need to do. You see the leading receivers in the NFC. Carter now has 57 catches, 58 catches. You get this situation, you throw the ball out of bounds. 17 seconds left. They can get 3 plays in before they try to kick a field goal if they get close enough. And they're about 20 yards away from field goal range right now.
Ward Revese's longest of the season, a 49-yard field goal. Gannon pumps. Still the time, no time now as he's sacked. Lawrence Pete.
And that's not a timeout, ladies and gentlemen. They stopped the clock temporarily here in the last 2 minutes on a quarterback sack.
And it will start with the referee's motion, and there it is. 4th sack of the afternoon for the Lions. So Rich Gannon smartly threw it in the ground. Stop the clock with 9 seconds left in a half. Ball will be marked at the 44 of Minnesota. Well, the Lions came out with a roar, sparked early, played well, took a 7-0 lead. Vikings finally get on the scoreboard with the halfback option. Darren Nelson pass to Anthony Carter.
This is pretty much what we really thought was going to happen, James. This is a game that's going to go right down to the end of the 4th quarter. This will not be a game that gets out of hand. I think it's something that's going to stay close the entire way.
And the other score came on a 37-yard field goal by Murray, and that accounts for the scoring. 10-7, Lions lead.
So Tom Dooley motioning for them to pump that 25 seconds clock back up.
And there is Herman Moore, the wide receiver. Well, the Lions in playing defense.
This is the prevent of the prevent. You get your guy that can jump the best back there and knock anything down.
And Herman Moore was on top of it as well to tip it. Terry Taylor looked to be the man who intercepted it, but it's all for naught now, as that's the end of the first half. Terry Taylor at 5'10", 191 comes down with the interception as opposed to the much taller Herman Moore at 6'3". 10-7 lead at half, Detroit. They got 4 first downs, make that 5 in the first half. 4 of those came on the opening drive. What happened after that?
Well, I think Minnesota's done an effective job of stopping the passing game. Barry Sanders has run pretty good in the first half. The key for Minnesota is to get on Barry Sanders. Be patient. Jimmy Williams told us, you got to be patient and sit on this guy. They've attacked too much. If they can stop Barry Sanders, they put themselves in the ideal situation of making Eric Kramer beat them. The big thing, turnovers. 3 turnovers by the Vikings. They get 2 more in the second half, they're dead.
Well, when you look at the quarterbacks, statistically, Gannon certainly has done the job there, but Kramer has been also pretty accurate, just not as many.
Kramer's been very accurate, and for Gannon, Gannon's also been sacked 4 times. So Minnesota's just got to tighten everything up pass-wise.
All right, we'll be back with the start of the second half here at the Metrodome. Lions lead at 10-7 right after this. A little bit of fun's only a 3-point lead, but do you think that kid is out there on 35W somewhere?
You mean that was the kindergarten luge clinic they have here in Minnesota every November?
You and I were getting our practice announcement for the Winter Olympics out there.
That's right.
Wayne Fontes and Jerry Burns. Playoff implications for both in this game, as we mentioned at the top. Detroit coming into the game with a 7-4 mark, trying to win more than 7 games this year, and that will be only the 4th time in 20 years that the team has done such. Minnesota with 6-6, and Randy, they're in a cluster of teams trying to get there. This is a must game for Minnesota.
If Minnesota doesn't win this, they will not be in the playoffs. Detroit is still thinking division title. They're in that wild card scramble, but this NFC Central division is not settled.
Juan Gervais kicking off for the Vikings. Dozier across the 10, across the 20, Dozier. And D.J. Dozier finally down near the 40-yard line. The Lions with a 37-yard return by D.J. Dozier. And speaking of the Lions' schedule the rest of the way, not an easy schedule.
And what makes this game so critical is here you got Chicago. That's a tough one. You got Buffalo here, but sandwiched in between are Green Bay and the Jets are 2 games they have every opportunity to win. They win this one, and they win those 2. You know, you're looking at 11-5 here.
First and 10 from the 40. Kramer throws it complete to Perryman for the first down. Good-looking pass play that time. What we saw Detroit's schedule, the Vikings have an easy one.
You know what the big thing that jumps out here? 2 things. The bye and 7 wins between those 3 teams. So Minnesota, they can get by the Detroit Lions. It's not easy. It never is in the league, but it's a lot easier than Wayne Fontes and the Lions have it.
19-yard pass play brings up first and 10 from the 42. It's a pass, and it is incomplete, thrown in the direction of Mike Farr. Now, Randy, going back to that schedule, you said the 2 things that jump out at you, one of those being the bye. Why the bye?
Well, I think the bye comes at a bad time for Minnesota. Minnesota is now at 6-6. This could be a very pivotal game for Minnesota. They win this, they're going to have a lot of momentum. Minnesota's made the decision. They're going to give, Jerry Burns is going to give his team all next week off. After this game, they come in tomorrow, and then they don't come back again till next Monday. Talk about a momentum killer. It could be something to really come back to haunt them.
All of the veterans want to keep it going, but they have no choice. 2nd and 10. This should be a pass with Mike Farr in motion. Instead, they go on the ground. This is Barry Sanders, and Sanders juking his way. Looks like enough for the first down. 12 yards picked up on the play. Now, Randy, in terms of the tendency, let's take a look at how we've been keeping track.
That's right. 14 times that wide receiver's gone in motion. 10 of those times have been passed, so they've deviated a little bit from their tendencies, but 2 of those 10 times have been this draw play to Barry Sanders.
And Sanders has carried 10 times on the afternoon for 72 yards. And the umpire is stopping the action as Minnesota calls a timeout. So the Vikings burn off one of their 3. They are left with 2. And we'll be back after this break.
It's been almost 2 hours.
Tom.
He was just going to the store, wasn't he?
No, Kevin.
He does this every time. He's your brother.
Well, you gave him the keys.
The Toyota Celica, rated by brothers-in-law everywhere as their favorite car to borrow.
I think I see headlights.
You know what's smart? This Magnavox digital CD shelf system that's incredibly powerful, compact, but what's really smart is this Magnavox 8mm Easy Cam that weighs less than 2 pounds, and what's really brilliant is this 13-inch TV with a built-in VCR. But what's ingenious is this 31-inch with a smart window that lets you see other channels and swap the picture. You know what's smart? This Magnavox digital CD... Again. Go away!
The ingenious products from Magnavox. They're smart, very smart.
Some people perspire.
We sweat.
You need Arid Double X Protection to help keep you extra, extra dry. And look, it's the only leading solid that doesn't leave a white, flaky mess.
Arid Double X helps keep us extra.
Extra dry.
The Black & Decker Workmate. About all it can't help you do is clean up. But at least it gets out of your way, and it's a powerful gift idea.
Coming up next, Greg Norman hosts the Shark Shootout benefiting Ronald McDonald Children's Charities as an elite field of golfers compete in a best ball alternate shot and scramble format at Sherwood Country Club in Thousand Oaks, California. And I think the music gives some indication of how serious it is as you take a look at the leaderboard after 2 rounds. Look who's in third place, the pairing in third.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not much of a hunt right now because Pertzer's out ahead. You got Norman and Jack Nicklaus, best of buddies at 10 under. That's a great format. Win some money for a good charity, go out and have fun with your friends.
First and 10. Trips left formation. Complete to Perryman, and Perryman picked up 4 on the play.
You saw another one of the intricacies of this 4 wide receiver offense. I almost call it the run and shoot, but it really isn't the run and shoot anymore. They've kind of expanded on it. Perryman working inside number 80. Little play action almost to Barry Sanders, and just a quick little flip. With 3 wide receivers over there, it's very difficult for Carl Lee and the rest of the defensive backs of the Minnesota Vikings to focus on any 1 wide receiver.
2nd and 6. Roman Ford, number 69, is an eligible receiver on this play. Incomplete. Robert Clark couldn't hold on to it. Pass a little low. Dallas ahead of Washington. Well, it's amazing. Some teams, Randy, just seem to have difficulty with one other particular team. With Minnesota, it's Green Bay. With Washington, it's Dallas, etc., etc.
And it doesn't help the fact that now Dallas has players like Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith, and especially Aikman. Aikman is the big difference there in Dallas. He is a real leader and a real fighter.
He's got some weapons in Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith as well. 1 of 6 on 3rd down conversions for the Lions. Let's see what they do here. Under pressure, Kramer gets rid of it, and it's complete to Perryman. And Perryman with the first down inside the 5. It'll be marked at about the 5. Boy, what an alert look and quick move on a part of Kramer. 21 yards picked up on that play.
And Minnesota took a big gamble there going for a blitz with Audrey McMillan coming in, and they just went for it all. And Kramer alertly, instead of staying where he was supposed to be, watch everybody coming after him. Dolman standing up on the right, and here comes the blitz. They're bringing the whole kitchen sink after him. There's McMillan, 26, and he alertly just flips this thing out there, and Perryman beats Lee, who was covering him one-on-one.
Perryman, 5 catches for 66 yards. 1st and goal. Ball at the 5. And DJ Dozier does a magnificent job just to get back to the line of scrimmage. Al Noga on the tackle. DJ Dozier spent 4 seasons here with the Minnesota Vikings, 6 feet, 205 pounds, and he would like nothing better.
And this is the part of the field I think Minnesota puts himself at a bit of a disadvantage because of the size of their defensive linemen. They are not very big. They have to slant. They have to attack and use their quickness. And frankly, they can be out-muscled down here in the goal line area.
2nd and goal at the 5. Barr in motion. Incomplete. Great play by Reggie Rutland as he knocked the ball away, intended
for Willie Green.
And this is one of those plays of this four-wide receiver offense. Watch this lane open up right here for Eric Kramer to throw through. Look at that lane that's open, wide open in the offense. And Rutland, a fine play. The only chance Rutland had was to dive in at the last minute and knock this one away. It's 3rd and 5.
3rd and goal from the 5. Kramer. Incomplete to Robert Clark. And no flag on the play. Todd Scott, the rookie out of Southwest Louisiana, providing the tight coverage.
And that was purely a timing type of a pattern. That was either going to be there for Wayne Fonts in Detroit or it wasn't going to be. And Todd Scott does a good job of covering. There's nothing fancy here. It's just 1, 2, 3, flip it. Now watch the coverage. Scott's right there, and he's all over Robert Clark.
This will be a 23-yard field goal attempt by Eddie Murray. And it hits the goalpost. And it hits the upright, so Detroit will come away empty and still nursing a 3-point lead. Yards picked up on a play, and there's still a Detroit player down on the field.
And we talked about Troy Aikman earlier, about what a great asset it is for Dallas. Troy Aikman is out of the game with a hurt ankle.
It looks like Ray Crockett, the 3rd-year player out of Baylor.
And there was quite a few shots being taken at the very end of this play. You'll see bodies diving all over the place when it comes down to the tackle. Crockett's on the bottom of that pile, being hit and bent over.
We had an awful lot of fun talking with Crockett last night. He was talking about his track days in high school and college and how his sister teases him a lot because he's picked up so much weight right now. Let's hope that everything is okay there. We'll get a status report when we come back. Crockett left the field under his own power. Bruised ribs, the report from the field, should return. 1st and 10, Minnesota. Ball at its own 31, 11:15 left in the 3rd. This is Terry Allen. And Allen across the 35 to about the 36-yard line. We'll see where they mark it. 5 yards picked up on the play.
You see Anthony Carter there on the sideline was involved in that play with Ray Crockett. He was the gentleman that caught the ball. And Carter is reporting that he's got a little strained neck. They're not sure exactly how much more he'll play. And Eddie Murray missed that field goal inside the 30. It was the first one Eddie Murray has missed inside 30 yards since 1986.
2nd and 5. Chris Carter in motion. The handoff to Herschel Walker. And Walker pile driving his way ahead for 4 yards on the play.
You know, James, before we get too far away from the missed field goal and the opportunity Detroit had, I got to really question how in the world do you get 1st and 5 on the 5, you're the Detroit Lions, and you don't give the ball at least once to Barry Sanders down there.
The franchise
did not give him the ball. You got to give Barry Sanders an opportunity to be your superstar, especially in those critical scoring opportunities.
And Wayne Fonts had made it pretty clear that Barry Sanders would be run 20, 25, 30 times a game if possible. Certainly you would have thought there. Craig Wolfman, the eligible receiver on this play. And excellent hustle, good read on the part of Chris Spielman.
And Randall McDaniel, the left offensive guard, was lined up in the fullback position in the backfield. And Chris Spielman comes unmolested over the area where McDaniel was over the left guard. Nobody touches him. He gets right in here for an easy one. Look at Spielman right in here. Watch him come through here. I don't know if anybody touches him. Nobody there. Nobody even bothers even touching Chris Spielman. You got to block a guy that's a Pro Bowl. You got to block anybody, but especially a guy that's a Pro Bowl.
Newsom. Well, great back to receive from the 26. Gray runs into his own man, but still on his feet and gets some positive yardage out of it. Mel Gray taking it up to about the 42-yard line.
And both Mel Gray and Barry Sanders are the definition of the old, it ain't over till it's over. And it ain't over till you tackle these guys and get these guys down. Because Mel Gray and Barry Sanders can bust things loose when they look the worst.
38-yard punt, 15-yard return. And don't forget, football involving these guys and these guys coming up Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, special edition of the NFL Today. It all gets started at 12 noon. And it'll be the Bears and the Lions. And back to live action here. 4 wideouts. Barry Sanders, the ball carrier. And good contain on the backside for that cutback. Right now, let's cut back to New York and Greg.
All right, James, in Tampa, Rodney Hampton of the Giants goes 5 yards for a touchdown. The Giants lead 14-7, but they've lost 4 starters today, including quarterback Jeff Hostetler to injury. Phil Simms is in charge now in the 3rd quarter. James?
All right, Greg, and certainly that's the man most New Yorkers wanted at the helm anyway, Phil Simms.
Yeah, I think it's very unfair to Hostetler. Hostetler's having a good year statistically. You know, one guy can only do so much, especially in a conservative offense like the New York Giants.
And what's fair in the world of fans? On 2nd down, Kramer throws it to Sanders, and Sanders tripped but still on his feet and gets across midfield near the 1st down. Let's see where they mark it. He needed to get to the 48.
I think he got it, James. And Barry Sanders, you're going to be treated to another highlight film action. Watch Barry come out here and watch him go against Barry, number 50, the linebacker. Watch this. One hand down. You just saw something. There's only one running back can do that in the NFL. That's run sideways, get tripped, put your hand down, and go full speed in the other direction.
Well, Barry Sanders did not get a favorable mark that time, so it'll be 3rd and inches. Sanders, the lone back. Far in motion. Kramer complete for the 1st down to Barry Sanders.
Well, they're very lucky there. They got that one over the middle to Sanders because there's a lot of traffic in there.
Randy, you and I talked at the top again about tendencies on a part of Detroit whenever they have the 4 wide receiver set and have one of the receivers in motion. More often than not, it will indicate pass. 15 times that's taken place where they have passed. 5 times they've run it.
So out of 20 attempts right now, they're offering about 75% pass. This should be a pass, 4 wide, receiver in motion.
And it is on 1st and 10. Kramer pumping, being chased by Clark, now by Jimmy Williams, and is trapped. Incomplete. Intended receiver was Willie Green.
You know, and that's a smart move by Kramer right there, flipping that thing towards the receiver, because honestly, they really seem to be cracking down on throwing the ball away on quarterbacks. I bet if he'd have thrown that thing about 10 feet off the ground and chunked it out of bounds, they'd have called grounding the ball right here, because he was doing this to avoid a sack. Jimmy Williams just gets an arm on that 58, just kicks this thing, and that's why this ball is incomplete. Otherwise, I think he'd have got it to Green.
10 of 2,400 yards on the afternoon for Eric Kramer. The draw for Sanders, and Sanders 1st down, touchdown. He's going to pay dirt. Touchdown, Detroit. Barry Sanders, 45-yard scamper.
And that's just how quick it can happen when this guy carries the ball against you. Wayne's hunting him down. Wayne's going to find him. He's got him. Puts the Fonts hug on him and sends him to the bench to get his water and a little rest. Minnesota's biggest mistake, they didn't get him early. They have their chances. Barry gets faked out again. You're not going to catch this guy once he gets to smell that goal line.
And the point after is good. Lions on top by the score of 17-7, thanks to a 45-yard run by that man, Sanders. the Metrodome certainly have to appreciate the running skills of one Barry Sanders, who's helped the Lions to get out in front 17-7 over Minnesota. 6:51 left in a third. Sanders now with 12 touchdowns on the year to take the NFC lead.
And he's only rushed against the Vikings twice for 100 yards in his 6 games against them, both this year.
He's got 118 today. Walker. Across the 20. Wrapped up by Victor Jones. Well, Barry Sanders runs with a clean jersey. Everything's legal. You just have to grab him.
And this is almost like a sprint out of the box. He'll go here, one little blip right about here, and then it's just a sprint to the sideline. The one little blip is trying to put a move on Ray Berry, the linebacker. Watch this. Little move, but that's it. Goodbye. Sorry. Later.
Chuck Schmidt, the executive vice president for the Lions organization, made it a point to say Barry will not be running with silicone on his jerseys.
He doesn't need it.
Gannon with plenty of time looking for Chris Carter, and it's intercepted by Ray Crockett. 4th interception of the season for Crockett. Only the 9th of the year for the Lions.
That's the fourth turnover of this game for the Minnesota Vikings. Here we'll see Crockett working against Chris Carter. This ball was just a little overthrown. Carter's working to get open, but from here on out, Crockett's the receiver, Carter's the defender, and he gets about a C- as a defender. And the guy that threw it, as soon as he threw it, he had to be hoping, Chris, please knock that down, because that's not a good pass.
With 6:35 left in the third period to play. Detroit 1st and 10 from its own 47. Sanders. Boy, how in the world does he find daylight with such a little hole, and he gets up near the first down marker. 9 yards picked up on a play by Barry Sanders. You know, Wiggin made a great comment when he was comparing Barry to how well built he was.
Well, Paul Wiggins said they had film clips where it looked like Barry Sanders was like 6 inches off the ground. The guy was right down there and running. I mean, this guy could run through Venetian blinds and not touch a blind.
2nd and 1. And who else? Sanders. With the first down and about 8 extra yards down near the 33.
Nothing too fancy about this one here. There's draws, there's sprint draws, there's all kinds of runs. Not this time with Barry Sanders. It's Barry right through here. Not too much style. It's just Eric Sanders, right tackle, you get your guy. Delafour, you get your guy. Glover, you get your guy. And Barry is your guy.
And certainly the Lions offensive line playing like they're playing for Mike Utley. 1st and 10, ball at the 33. Ball batted down by Jimmy Williams. And Jimmy Williams playing a nice game, greeting his old teammates.
Jimmy Williams, incomplete.
Jimmy said he does, in fact, keep in contact with a lot of the ex-Lions, especially William White.
When you're there that long, you're in a place as long as Jimmy Williams was, you can't just cut things off and go somewhere else. A lot of friends, a lot of family, you have kids, they have friends.
One of the finest people in the league indeed, 10th year out of Nebraska. 2nd and 10 from the 33, 5:09 remaining in the third. Kramer, quick out to Green, and Green trying to get near that first down marker. He looks to be about a half a foot shy.
Kramer's pass complete to Green. Rutland on the tackle.
Rutland, Lee and company over there, 9 yards picked up on a play.
You know, I wonder really if the Minnesota Vikings coaches know about this thing with the motion out of the 4 wide. Because it's very, very dominant. And when they're not throwing the ball, they're running draws. You know, 4 of those things are draws. Out of those 17 passes, 22 attempts, 17 passes, 5 draws.
They'll call it 3rd and 1 as Kramer gets rid of it quickly. And it looked to be enough for the first down for Mike Carr. They're giving him forward progress. The fans here do not like it. And I'm going to tell you, Kramer did an excellent job to get rid of that ball as he felt the heat coming from his backside.
Well, he was immediately knocked back. Right at catch, there was contact, and he's forced back. But we'll see it best from this angle. Kramer's going to flip this thing out here. He's got it. He's right at the marker, or just in front of it. And McMillan knocks him back. Good spot.
Nice one-handed snag by Mike Farr, who caught his first touchdown pass of his career against the Rams last week. 1st and 10, ball at the 23. Here comes Merriweather. He gets rid of it to Sanders. Hey, folks, look out. And Sanders, tackled by Todd Scott at about the 8. And there's a flag on a play, and Jimmy Williams, all on top of Kramer's, got to be there.
Little frustration involved there in the case of Jimmy Williams for roughing Eric Kramer.
We have a personal foul, roughing the passer, a blow to the head, number 58 defense, first down.
Well, we mentioned earlier he's a real nice guy, but nice guys don't always do too well on a football field. You got to have a little nasty streak into you. And he comes through with that left paw. He didn't have to do that. He did not have to push off into the face. And this puts Detroit right down there in that territory where they didn't give it to Barry early.
First and goal from the 4. Roman Fortin, the eligible receiver. This is Barry Sanders. Touchdown, Detroit. 3rd touchdown of the afternoon for Barry Sanders. And Wayne Fonts must have heard you before about how in the world can he not run Sanders from that close?
There's Wayne. He's going to keep his guys fired up. The last thing he wants them to do is let down. But, you know, we said you got to give it to Barry. Give it to Barry. He should be tackled right here by Ray Barry. Once again, Ray Barry can't get him. Solomon Wilcox, 41, can't get him. Touchdown number 3.
As Eddie Murray comes on to attempt the point after. And it's good as the Lions continue to expand the lead.
Watch this low to the ground built Volvo 4-wheel drive Barry Sanders run. Full speed left, stop, go. You're not going to tackle him, forget it. You're not going to drive through and you're not going to wrap him up. You shouldn't even bother with this guy.
Barry Sanders, 15 carries for 142 yards. 3 touchdowns. And Randy, still the same humble guy that we knew from year 1, although he is a tad bit more outgoing.
He's a lot more outgoing. I was, you know, busting my chops a little bit about my hairstyle, other things like that. But
well, he's always been observant now.
If I'm Wayne Fonts, I'm on my guys hard right now. I'm reminding them, guys, we were ahead of this team 20-3 in our joint earlier this year. We're ahead 24-7 here. We're within 3 touchdowns right now of getting on the other end of that situation. So we've got to maintain our intensity.
Wayne Fonts happily pacing the sidelines here. I mentioned that Barry Sanders has 142 yards thus far. His career high single game is 184. As you take a look at the numbers there, Wayne Fonts' squad trying to sweep the Vikings for the first time in 29 years. As a matter of fact, you know, there are 39 players on the Lions squad who weren't even born at that point in time when they last swept. And remember,
the Vikings didn't come into the league too much earlier than that either.
Walker again from the 9, across the 20. Wrapped up and dropped by Victor Jones. There is a flag on the near sideline.
I think it's going to be one of those inadvertent face masks.
And Randy, your eyes once again good.
Incidental face mask, 5 yards on the defense from the end of the run, first down.
But he didn't nail the culprit, but we'll assume it's Victor Jones.
And why will we assume? Because we're going to have a look at Victor right here. Watch old Herschel's head as he comes through the pile. And it happens right towards about the middle of the tackle. Right there. See that? Doesn't have to be on there long. They don't want people grabbing face masks.
2:58 left in the third period of play. Detroit on top 24-7. First and 10 for the Vikes. Complete to Steve Jordan. And that breaks the all-time reception record set by Ahmad Rashad. Steve Jordan now with 401 career catches. And the man they call Ivy from the Ivy League, Brown University, said he took an awful lot of notes from Ahmad Rashad and Sammy White. There are the numbers. Steve Jordan said Ahmad Rashad had focus and serious work ethics in practice and game situations, and they're stopping the game to acknowledge his record.
And I'm sure Steve Jordan had traded a couple of those catches for some big catches here and some scores for the Minnesota Vikings.
2nd and 2. Ball at the 39 of Minnesota. Three wide out. And complete to Chris Carter for a first down near the 45. 4 catches on the afternoon for Chris Carter.
And Gannon's starting to get some continuity and some smoothness to himself in his offense here. We see this from this ground level angle. Carter goes up, receiver gets up like that in the air over the middle. He knows he's going to get hit.
.137 left in the third period of play. First and 10, ball at the 45. Incomplete intended receiver was Hassan Jones. Fans want a defensive pass interference against Terry Taylor. Not to be.
How do you fend off a flag? Terry Taylor comes over the top of the back of the receiver, Hassan Jones. Watch him get up. He gets up, pointing at the receiver. He's pointing at everybody else. It wasn't me. Watch this. He rolls over. Now he's pointing. Look, oh, wow. Oh.
The hero moves.
That's right.
Gannon, 15 of 20 for 171 yards. 2 interceptions. He's been sacked 4 times today. 2nd and 10. Nelson, the lone back. And he's grabbed. Give the credit to Ray Crockett. First sack of the season for Ray Crockett. And a loss of 10 on the play.
Now, normally you point out individual blitzers. You say one coming from here. These are all blitzers right now. Spielman in the middle, he gets free, and then Crockett's going to come up and finish him off. Here's Spielman. He gets blocked, but here comes Crockett off the corner. That's the way you break up that continuity and smoothness of an offense. You come down, you blitz, you get their quarterback.
Boy, the Lions put Mike Cofer on sidelines, and the guys go crazy, sacking and blitzing. 5 on the afternoon. This is 3rd and 20. And unleashes it. And nearly caught by Chris Carter. While we've got a moment here, let's head back to New York and check in with Greg.
Well, James, at RFK Stadium, Steve Berline in for the injured Troy Aikman, 22 yards to Michael Irvin. And early in the 4th quarter, Dallas leading the undefeated Redskins 21-7. James?
Well, I mentioned that in addition to Troy Aikman, that he had some weapons, although he's not in the game, but Michael Irvin still is, as is Emmitt Smith. 2 very dangerous weapons. Newsom on to punt for the Vikings. And Mel Gray, the ever-dangerous one from his own 10, slips a tackle, looks for a seam, and gets up to the 20. A 45-yard punt, 10-yard return by Mel Gray. Coming up next, Greg Norman hosts the Shark Shootout, benefiting Ronald McDonald Children's Charities as an elite field of golfers compete in a best ball alternate shot scramble format at Sherwood Country Club in Thousand Oaks, California. Jim Nance will bring you the action from out there as you take a look at Norman and Nicholas hovering back as a third pair.
Trailing Purser and Watkins. Purser's got the prettiest swing on the PGA Tour. The guy's like a machine. Same swing every single time.
Precision. First and 10 from the 20. Sanders. You know, Sanders doesn't look to let up at all. He still has the same graceful gliding speed late in the game or early in the game. Makes no difference.
It doesn't matter if Barry Sanders is ahead 50-0 or behind 50-0. This is a guy that loves the game so much, loves playing the game so much. He goes as hard as he can for as long as he can.
And the players will allow the clock to run out to bring the third quarter to a close. And that's the end of the third quarter with the score. Detroit 24, Minnesota 7. Our coverage will continue after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. International flavor to today's NFC Central Division battle. Japanese broadcast network here. The game is being taped and will be shown back in Japan. There's Takao Masuda, the play-by-play man. And to the right with the mustache, Big Ben Davison. Let's give a listen.
さて、デトロイトライオンズの攻撃が続きます。24ヤードからのセカンドダウン6。ワンセットバック。
That's right, Matsuda.
And Barry Sanders. First down.
30ヤードを超えてファーストダウンです。
Let's give a listen to the Japanese replay on this one, Randy.
今のプレーですが、バリー・サンダースにここでハンドオフ。そしてサンダース一遍真ん中をついたんですが、右にカットを踏んで、もう一度左にカットを踏んで34ヤードラインまでボールを運んでいます。ファーストダウンです。
It's the same in any language, Randy.
Doesn't matter.
今私たちの映像が、アメリカの CBS 放送に流れたようです。
Matsuda, maybe a whole new career on American TV for you.
Randy, I tell you, I loved hearing Ben Davidson's comment the first time. That's right, Masuda.
That's right. It's amazing how quickly they translated Ben's Japanese into English, wasn't it?
Boy, awfully quick. Awfully quick, and that certainly describes Barry Sanders, and I'm sure Chris Dolman will second that. 2nd and 7 for the Lions. Ball on their own 37. Fourth quarter play, 13:36 left in the game. Is it caught or trapped? No, incomplete. Willie Green doesn't put up an argument. And neither does Kramer. Randy, you know, you had mentioned also that you were very impressed with Kramer. What about him specifically impressed you after the conversation?
You know, there's a saying I learned from Tim Ryan, who I worked with my first year with CBS, and that's with quarterbacks, they can play cards or they can't play cards. You know, they got that look to them, they can play cards. This guy can play cards. I don't care what his stats are. This team likes this guy, and this team now believes in Eric Kramer.
Third
he
and
can play
7.
cards.
Mike Farr in motion. Should it be a pass? Indeed it is. Goes up top, incomplete, looking for Brett Perryman. Well, in talking about Kramer, he also impressed us with his ability to be aggressive and a marketeer off the field, in that he called every NFL club trying to get a job, said there were no special connections here.
When you're a free agent, you come out of North Carolina State, you spend a little time in training camps, you go to Canada, you got to market yourself. And right now he's having a pretty good day. He's 13 of 26, 124 yards, no touchdowns, and he's given the ball to Barry Sanders a whole bunch, and that's never a bad idea.
Not a bad formula at all. As Jim Arnold comes on to punt for the Lions, Leo Lewis back at his own 20 for the Vikings. High snap. Arnold gets it away, and Lewis lets it take a bounce. And it takes a Minnesota bounce. A 39-yard punt only. It'll be Vikings ball at the 24 when we come back.
is sponsored by Keystone.
The synopsis of this summary here, all Detroit, showing the back and forth it's been. It was Detroit early in the game. Minnesota came back. Now it's Detroit. You mentioned that Minnesota would have to stop Barry Sanders unsuccessfully.
Coming in here, James, we're worried about the mental condition of the Detroit Lions. Emotionally, are they going to be able to come in here and play a physical game after the injury and what happened to Mike Utley last week? They've proven emotionally they're ready to go. Minnesota came into the second half wanting to stop Barry Sanders. Sorry, he's got 90-plus yards so far in the second half, and Eric Kramer and his passing have not been an issue in this ballgame.
And the defense certainly has risen to the challenge as well. 5 sacks on the afternoon. I mentioned Mike Kofor on the sidelines, certainly providing some inspiration. Gannon throws it incomplete as he threw it at the leg of Darren Nelson. But then again, when you've got Kelvin Pritchard on top of you, you may be off.
And another one of the acquisitions Detroit's made recently this year, getting him in that draft day trade with Dallas, the first-round draft pick Pritchett, and somebody they really hope they can develop into an inside threat on the pass rush. Right there, he's working against Habib, 74, the right guard, gets by him pretty cleanly with some good hand action.
Pritchett had a nice game last week. Nelson, the lone back. 3 wide outs. Hassan Jones to the near side. 2nd and 10. Timing pattern. The pass intended for Anthony Carter. Good defense. Sheldon White over there. Boy, Dallas expanding the Washington deficit there. My goodness.
You know, the press, the media, a lot of Washington Redskin fans, if they do indeed lose that game, will be very down, very depressed. Gee, we won't be 16-0. I think it'll be a plus for Washington. It will redouble their focus. It will redouble their efforts. I think they'll be a better team if they do lose than if they keep winning and just hang on.
Gannon looking for Chris Carter. He's got him complete for the first down inside the 45, and there's a flag at midfield. Carter beat William White that time.
You know, a lot's been said, a lot's been made of the fact, why isn't Anthony Carter getting the ball more often? How come Chris Carter catches so many more passes? Rich Gannon told us, you know, the main reason Chris Carter's gotten more passes this year, this guy busts his rear end every single pass play to get open. And a great example there. Good concentration. In spite of the fact that he was interfered with, he still comes down with the ball.
Penalty was on William White, declined, of course. And Chris Carter insists that he does, in fact, enjoy a good relationship with the other receivers. Hey, it's just coming my way right now.
Remember, folks, this thing ain't over. A quick strike here, and Minnesota's right back in it.
1st and 10 from the 42 of Detroit, and flags everywhere. Looks like Jeff Hunter, big number 97.
If contact was made, they'll call him from offsides, but Chris Carter out of the slot on the left side of the offense also moved.
And Rich Gannon gets pushed out of the conversation by the officials.
Prior to the snap, we have a false start on number 80. First down.
I'll tell you,
one of the disadvantages of being a wide receiver, being an offensive player, you can't move at all. And here's Carter. Hunter is right down here. You'll just see him move, and then you'll see Carter move. Watch this. Almost simultaneous, but the offensive player can't flinch towards the line of scrimmage like that.
So it'll be 1st and 15 for the Vikings. Ball marked at the 47. 12:30 left in the game. Vikings trailing by 17. And Gannon throws it again in the direction of Anthony Carter. And on top of him was Sheldon White, and Carter, AC, still on the ground. Carter, 7th-year veteran out of Michigan.
And that's another one of those cases of coming across the middle and getting a face full of safety. Watch this here. Not a bad throw. Gannon puts it in the only place he could.
Oh, the helmet. That's what the fans are screaming about there.
But Jenkins puts that face and that helmet right into the face of Anthony Carter, who will slot from the top, slant from the top of the screen, working against Sheldon White. And Jenkins comes off Chris Carter, turns around, and just wraps Anthony Carter.
Now that is dangerous.
You know, and like we've been talking about Mike Utley, and they mentioned in the NFL today, Leslie Visser talked about those types of hits, the helmet-to-helmet contact, are the ones where players live in mortal fear of as far as a serious neck injuries. You know, very rarely do things happen like happened to Mike Utley. It was sort of a freak deal, very, very tragically. But those are the types of contacts and the type of hits that people expected. That was the Tatum and Stingley. That was helmet-to-helmet type of thing. When you get those contacts, it's an awful lot of stress on a person's neck and vertebrae.
Although it looked vicious up around the helmet area, Carter is not putting any pressure on that left ankle of his.
And see that thing bent back as he was hit. He was sent, his whole body was sent back over that left ankle when he was struck.
So Leo Lewis comes in to replace him. 2nd and 15. Gannon to Leo Lewis. Lewis scampering his way up to around the 37. He needed to get to the 34 for the first down. 9 yards picked up on the play. Gannon quickly bringing the troops to the line. 3rd and 4 from the 36. Quick one to Chris Carter, and Carter has the first down. So Minnesota keeps the drive alive. 11:49 left in the game, trailing 24-7 as the clock continues to wind down.
And Minnesota continues to stay in their hurry-up offense. They need a quick strike. They need something into the end zone real soon, like now.
Minnesota with 2 timeouts remaining. Detroit with all 3. Nelson. Big room, heading to pay dirt. Touchdown, Minnesota. A 30-yard blast by Darren Nelson.
And Darren Nelson continues to have success against these Detroit Lions. We said they needed a play in the end zone. Well, you don't have to throw it in there to get your points. Detroit and Barry Sanders has proved that. And Darren Nelson drags the defender in and scores his touchdown.
Darren Nelson, first rushing touchdown of the day. Nelson involved in both touchdowns by the Vikings. Halfback option. He threw one to Anthony Carter. And this one a rushing one, and believe it or not, the play is being reviewed.
And what they're reviewing, they're going to review where he came down. If he indeed, did he and the ball come down, or did the ball, more importantly, break the plane before he was down? Taking another look from the side angle of it. Nice run, doing his taller, thinner version of a Barry Sanders run. Here comes the contact. He's going down. Can't really tell, but if that ball is anywhere from the numbers up on him there, that's a touchdown. One more time. He's going down. Yeah, that's 6 points. There's nothing, you know, it's close, but there's nothing so conclusive that you'd overrule it. 1, here's the good angle. 2, 6. 1 and 2 or 3, I know, but 1 and 2 are 6 in that case.
Well, we keep track of everything here, including the reviews this season. 2.6 per game. Not bad numbers.
Yeah, not really. You know, they don't grade them either. They just give you the percentage. You know, eventually it should move into a grade category.
Well, Randy, you know, we may very well see coaches starting to practice some hurry-up plays after situations like this so as not to have to get into a replay.
Well, it already happens. He's going down. His knee is down. If this was college, he would be down. But this is not college. As the ball and his momentum carries him in, the ball crosses the plane. The ball there. When the knee hits that ball, got it.
We have a reversal.
Yep.
We have his knee down. The ball's on the 10-yard line.
100% right.
Well, Tom Dooley clearly articulating that one. Knee down, ball at the half-yard line for Wayne.
You know,
you've got Barry Sanders there.
From that back angle, it looked like the ball was out over the end zone, all over the goal line as he was going down. But you see here, as the knee hits down, where is the ball? Knee is down, where's the ball? See, from that angle, I would say, heck, he's over. But from the other angle, he wasn't.
First and goal from the 1. Walker, touchdown, Minnesota.
We talked about Minnesota being 6-0 when they run the ball more than 30 times this year. That was their 21st run of the game.
And they trail.
We talked about Herschel being able to jump and being a leaper. He didn't have to leap there. There was a nice hole right in the middle, right behind Loudermilk and Habib, and Todd Kalis follows Randall McDaniel, the fullback, in for an easy score.
Bart Gervais on for the point after, and it's good. Minnesota cuts the Lions' lead to 10. Here up in Minnesota, and the Vikings have been trying to use Walker as a principal mode of transportation as he scores the touchdown. 24-14 Lions with 11:05 remaining in the contest. Vikings lead this series 38-20-2. Last time they met, the Lions scored 21 fourth-quarter points to come back and win it 24-20. Will it be Minnesota to pull the reversal?
As Detroit did in the fourth quarter against Minnesota earlier in the year, they scored to get within 2 touchdowns, and they onside kicked. Minnesota's going to onside here. If they're not, Fowler Gervais has a new way of kicking off. That ball sitting sideways on the tee.
Well, we ought to see the hands, people, if you will, for Detroit. And let me bring you up to date on the timeouts here. Minnesota and Detroit both with 2 remaining. Lions on top 24-14, 11:05. And don't forget, coming up on Thanksgiving, it'll be a special edition of the NFL Today. Terry, Greg, Leslie, and Pat O'Brien will bring you the holiday version of the NFL Today. And after that, it'll be game time when the Lions take on the Bears. And as Randy Cross mentioned, the NFC Central Division title still very much up for grabs there. The Lions can have a bearing on it. That'll be coming your way Thanksgiving Day.
No pun intended, of course, James, if the Lions would have a bearing on it. And now Fowler Gervais has moved the ball onto the normal tee. The hands team is in. A little chess game here. A little strategy.
I like that. I'll tell you what, Mel Gray, we'll see if he boots it back. He tries to keep it away from Mel Gray. Campbell has it at the 30. And across the 40 to the 41, so the Lions will come out with excellent field position. And right now, with all the busy going on in the NFL, let's go back to New York and Greg.
All right, James, in Washington, Gerald Riggs powers over from a yard out to cut Dallas's lead over the Redskins to 21-14. 4 minutes to play in Washington, and we'll have the scores and highlights coming up on the postgame show. JB?
Randy, you mentioned that Matt Millen may have the best job in football. Gerald Riggs certainly can't be too far behind. They called him in on short yardage situations and to score the TDs.
Exactly. Now's the time when Dallas will find out if they truly have a running game with Emmitt Smith against that tough a defense.
First and 10 from the 41. Sanders. And Sanders blasting out. And juking his way inside the 15, tackled by Ray Berry. Barry Sanders on the move again. 45 yards. He's got 204 yards on the afternoon. That's a career high for Barry Sanders.
Just unbelievable how he gets through these areas. Where he sees this daylight, where he sees, look at him, he froze Felix Wright. There is some good news here, though. Ray Berry, number 50, is finally going to get his hands on Barry Sanders today and make this tackle. He's missed him 4 or 5 times with those moves. This guy is incredible. You're watching something very special here today, folks.
His previous high, 184 against Green Bay back in '89, and Sanders trying to add to it.
We're going to have a quick quiz here. I bet the people back in Detroit know who held the old record of 198 yards for the Detroit Lions. The former rushing crown was held by James.
You tell me.
Horsey Horsemeyer would be my first guess. Horsey Horsemeyer or Billy Sims, but no Horsey Horsemeyer.
A very familiar name
I
indeed.
did not know that one.
2nd and 6. Ball at the 10. Sanders ahead for about 2. And once again, a busy man in New York, Greg Gumbel.
All right, JB, in Tampa, Vinny Testaverde, 19 yards to Willie Drury, and the Bucks and the Giants are tied at 14 apiece. Meanwhile, x-rays on Giants quarterback Jeff Hostetler show a fracture of a small bone in the lower back, not a career-threatening injury, James.
Thank you, Greg. And back here, a good one on hand. Detroit 24, Minnesota 14.
And Greg might be a busy man in New York, but Barry's got to be a tired man here in Minnesota. He is carrying the load, and this is about to squash some comeback hopes of the Minnesota Vikings.
3rd and 5. Sanders, guess what? Touchdown, Lions. 4 touchdowns on the afternoon for Barry Sanders.
Amazing. Amazing doesn't cover it.
You're right. We've got to go in the dictionary and come up with a few more. 219 yards on the afternoon on 22 carries, 4 touchdowns.
And he is trapped. He is stopped. He should be tackled. But we're not talking about Joe Average here. We're talking about Barry Sanders. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. And there we go. Wayne, we saw Wayne early. Wayne was on the hug hunt. He's hunted down Barry. Wayne's got more touches and contact on Barry than the Vikings do.
Well, Barry Sanders, reason enough to be hugged. First Lion to run for 4 touchdowns in a game. What an afternoon for Barry Sanders.
When we talk about how low to the ground Barry Sanders runs, look at this. You're a safety for the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, they're giving him the ball. Where'd he go? Where is he? Whoops, there he is. Touchdown.
The comment that Paul Wiggin made was that Barry Sanders has a body built by Volvo with anti-lock brakes for ankles and feet. I'm sure the people in Detroit would prefer that to be a body by Fisher. Whatever, he's dangerous. 22 carries, 218 yards, 4 touchdowns. And Eilers takes it from the 18. And Eilers jumps his way to about the 32, 33-yard line for the Minnesota Vikings. If you take a look, only 2:23 left in that Washington-Dallas game. Giants and Tampa Bay all tied up at 14 apiece. Some excellent contests there.
New England leading Buffalo. McPherson has done a great job up there in New England.
Green Bay fired there.
There's another. Pittsburgh over Houston. Cleveland over Kansas City.
Raiders 38-14. Tim Brown had a 75-yard punt return for a touchdown. That now becomes the longest punt return for TD this year, breaking the 69-yarder by Brian Mitchell of Washington.
And it's snowing. That game's in Cincinnati. That's a bad weather game.
Intended receiver Chris Carter. I guess Carter had a case of alligator arms that time. He knew the hits were coming.
You talk about the alligator arms, and people joke about the receivers coming across the middle. This little hit here, this is just Benny Blades' way of saying, Chris, thanks for dinner last night. You and the wife made White and I a little dinner last night. This is a little something for you. Here, it's kind of like a parting gift. little something for you to take back home to you tonight.
And we asked them that specifically. Chris, if Benny was coming at you on the field, do you think he would pull up and not hit you hard? Well, I guess that was indication enough.
I tell you, there's two kinds of people you don't want to run into on a football field when they got a shot on you. One of them is somebody who doesn't like you, and the other one is a good friend, because good friends will not let up on you.
Now both starting wide receivers for the Vikings out of the game, Anthony Carter and Chris Carter. 2nd and 10, Hassan Jones in motion. And Gannon slips and falls and is tackled.
Call him down, they'll call that a sack, and that'll be the 6th sack for Detroit today, working against this Minnesota Vikings line.
Now, was that Hayworth or Pete?
This is just kind of a race to the quarterback, because Loudermilk steps on Gannon's foot, Gannon's down, and now it's just like, you know, it's like throwing a bone in a bunch of dogs. Somebody wants to jump on it because it's a freebie.
Hayworth and Pete there, huh? Maybe Hayworth first. 6 sacks, nonetheless, on the afternoon. Boy, Detroit really has increased in that category now. 20 for the year. They came into this game with 14. On 3rd and 16, first down catch by Chris Carter, who's back in the game, obviously. Terry Taylor runs him out of bounds, but not after. Before seeing him pick up 21 yards. 7:43 left in the game.
And this is the thing, Chris Carter is going to come open real late on this one. Gannon steps up, he was going to run, uses the poise, and stays in there to hit Carter on that late one. Carter gets his 7th catch. Now has 7 catches for 111 yards.
He now has a career high in yardage. Going up top, and it was going for Carter, but intercepted by William White. His 2nd interception of the season. And White was the other dinner guest.
Chris Carter's best man in his wedding. And that was just a gift from Gannon. He had no business floating that thing up like that in the middle of a zone defense, because that's White's job, is to sit back there and pray that somebody throws one up like that. Well, it's duck hunting season, and here's a duck up for grabs. And William White gladly takes that Thanksgiving turkey and heads to the sideline.
5 turnovers for Minnesota, 2 fumbles, 3 interceptions.
And look you know what happens when a quarterback throws an interception? He's fair game. You can do whatever you want to him. Jump on him, stomp on him, knock him down.
Hello. 1st and 10, ball at midfield, 7:15 left in the game. Sanders, the man who's done all kinds of damage, scooting ahead for 2. 31-14. Well, coming into this game, I guess the heading careful quarterbacks did apply.
And Gannon today has suffered a little bit, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact the running game for the Minnesota Vikings was almost non-existent today. It got to the point where they had to throw the ball, they had to put the pressure on Gannon, and that offensive line here in Minnesota, they got so much credit and so much praise for pushing the Green Bay Packers around last week, just couldn't get the job done today.
2nd and 8 from the 48. DJ Dozier, first down. And Dozier inside the 20 to the 19, finally tackled by Audrey McMillan. A 29-yard run by DJ Dozier, and what a welcome back to the Metrodome.
Wayne Fonts told us, I think this guy reminds me of O.J. Simpson with that kind of fluid, loping style. Look at when he gets opened up. He's moving. He doesn't look like he's running hard or fast, but he's eating up 3-4 yards with every stride. And here's what it looks like if you're playing strong safety, free safety for the Minnesota Vikings.
Detroit on the ground this afternoon, 255 yards rushing. Campbell in motion. 1st and 10 from the 19 of Minnesota. Dozier spinning, trying to get it loose from Jimmy Williams. Couldn't shake him.
And that's the difference between a good running back like a DJ Dozier and Barry Sanders. Isn't that something? Barry Sanders might still be running. 5 seconds later, he might not even be across the goal line. He'd still be standing there making people miss.
And about to take the first snaps of the season, Andre Ware, the #1 draft pick 2 seasons ago.
You would imagine they're going to keep running the ball and pounding the ball at the Minnesota Vikings. They don't want to make a mistake. It's a 17-point lead with 5 minutes left to play in the game.
2nd and 10 from the 19. And on the ground, maybe a yard ahead. Mike Merriweather on the stop of DJ Dozier. You know, as frustrated as Andre Ware may be with not playing for whatever reason, as Minnesota burns off a timeout, leaving them with just 1, Rich Gannon probably had the best reasons in explaining to us why a quarterback ought to sit down the first couple of years.
He's right. He thinks he's really pretty fortunate, having been in the situation that he was in, not having to sort of play right away and being thrown in. You get a chance to read it, you get a chance to look at the defense, you get a chance to be around the atmosphere and the team before you get out there and start playing. I think you're able to mature and season yourself and get seasoned by being around the game instead of being thrown in. You know, people say, well, gee, how about Jim Kelly? Well, gee, how about Troy Aikman? But I always got to come back and say, well, yeah, well, how about Vinny Testaverde?
Yes, indeed.
I mean, look at Vinny Testaverde. The poor guy has just been slapped around something terrible in Tampa.
A former Heisman Trophy Award winner at the quarterback spot for the Lions. On 3rd and 9, and a miscue. Ball is loose. Dozier trying to get the hands on it, still loose. And finally, Lomas Brown, the 7th-year vet, recovers the fumble. Well, now, Hank Stram's saying around this time would be they are putting a little sand in the ball to carry it on the ground. I don't know what he would say for that.
This thing looks like one of those little lopsided balls. You see they kind of wobble. Can't get a handle on it. Gee, look at this thing back. Now, he can't hold it. He had his hands on it. He's the 3rd guy to get his hands on it. Struthers comes in. He can't hold on to it. Finally, Lomas, he takes the right approach. The heck with putting my hands on it. I'm going to put my chest on it and lie on it.
And Lomas very fortunate no one jumped on top of that bad shoulder of his.
But you talk about happy feet all the time. You hear that talk about quarterbacks. DJ Dozier there had a case of happy hands. He got that ball in his hands, and suddenly his hands started moving twice as fast as his feet, and the ball comes out. There's those happy hands. Struthers can't get it, but Lomas can.
Well, Minnesota called a timeout, leaving them with none. Detroit has 2 remaining as you take a look at Ware. Even Jerry Wampler with the number 60 shirt on, again in recognition of Mike Utley. Eddie Murray will come on to attempt a field goal, and this will be a 50-yard field goal attempt. His season long is 47.
Got the leg.
And he's got it. So Eddie Murray with a season long now of 50 yards, booting the Lions in front by 20.
And from this far out, when you get a kick, Eddie Murray's thinking, keep your head down and drill it. It's not going to get up very high. See, it just barely clears the rush of Minnesota. Eddie likes it. Arnold, his punter, likes it. How does Wayne Fontes think? What do you think, Wayne? You got a 50-yarder. You like that? Boy, is he getting kind of nonchalant now. A few handshakes, but he turns around and immediately goes, okay, kickoff team, let's go.
Well, the big thing is Wayne Fontes there does not have the headsets on, and he talked about why the team didn't want him to wear the headsets anymore.
He said he lost contact with his team. When he had the headset on, he's constantly talking to the offensive coaches, the defensive coaches, the special teams coaches. He said a couple games ago, I said, the heck with it. I took the headset off. I gave it to an assistant to follow me around if I wanted to talk to somebody. And after the game, the players came up to me and said, Coach, it's good to have you back with us.
Well, the Lions get an opportunity to look impressive on Thanksgiving Day. That coming up on Thursday. The Turkey Day special, and it all gets started with Thanksgiving Day at the NFL Today, 12 noon. That'll be followed by the Lions and Bears at 12:30 Eastern. Back to live action, Nelson. Nelson fumble, and the Lions recover. Victor Jones. So the ball continues to bounce Detroit's way. 6th turnover for the Vikings today. 3 fumbles, my goodness.
And Jerry Burns, that about says his mood right now. Just takes that headset off and throws it aside. You know, you can take your headset off so you don't have to listen to anything, but there's nothing you can do because you're going to have to watch the rest of this one, Jerry. And right now, the performance by your Vikings, who are thinking, gee, can we get into the playoffs, is getting pretty ugly. And so are their chances of getting in the playoffs.
After that fumble, everyone walked away from Jerry Burns. Nobody within 10, 20 feet of him. What a year. Roman Fortin comes in as the eligible receiver for Detroit. 1st and 10, ball at the 25 of Minnesota. 4:15 left. This is DJ Dozier, and Dozier tackled by Jimmy Williams. A loss of 5 on the play. Randy, what is it with this Detroit team? They play well in domes, but not outside.
And you can, this record right here, it's a little early. I know there's about 3-4 minutes left. We'll make this an 8 right here, I think. That's 8-0 and 0-4. You know, James, it's hard to explain. The Lions don't know what it is. The fact the Lions try to blow it off is just something the media wants to talk about. I think something Wayne Fontes and his coaching staff had better talk about, too, because if they get into the playoffs and they have playoff games, most of them are going to be outside.
Andre Ware with the keeper. And Ware runs out of bounds right near the 1st down marker. We'll see where they spot it. So he looks like he was be a little shy.
I'm sorry, James. And we're talking about their record, Detroit, and they're still sort of in the Central Division race, and things are still looking good for them. But also, if they don't catch Chicago, with the record they're going to be able to compile, they'll also have the home field advantage for that first playoff game. The first wild card game would be there in Detroit. So they would get a time in the dome, but if they want to go past that first one, like Barry Sanders says, we have 8 games left. 3 of those 4 postseason games will be outside.
Dozier spinning inside the 15, and he's got the 1st down. Well, I know there is one Detroit Lion who would love to play outdoors, and that's Chris Spielman. As a matter of fact, he was a little upset that this game wasn't being played outside.
He's an old Ohio Stater. He figures everything should be done outside. We should just get out there and play in the cold, play in the snow, play in the rain.
Interesting, he's got a broken thumb that he actually broke the first time in preseason. Interesting response he gave you.
He says it keeps breaking. I said, you know, Chris, do you wear like a hard plastic kind of cover over that thumb to protect it? I said, no. He says, no, he's wearing a glove over it, but he goes, no, I didn't do that. He goes, I said, well, heck, if you have a hard plastic cover on there, you can jab guys. You can hurt them with that thing. He looks at me and says, yeah, you know, you're right. That's not a bad idea.
May not be a bad idea. He considers it a flesh wound. We're at the 2-minute mark. Detroit on top by 20.
Character was always Topo Gigio, the little mouse.
The little mouse.
Remember that?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. We got a final back in Washington, James. The Washington Redskins have lost the first game.
It happened.
24, Washington 21. Rippon hit Sanders with a 29-yarder with 16 seconds left to pull him to 24-21, but Willis had kicked a 42-yard field goal to put them up 24-14. So
the coaching staff had been a little concerned in Washington about whether or not they would have the attention of the players because things have been going so well. They'll have that attention now.
And in that Giants-Tampa Bay game, Phil Simms hit Baker with a 30-yard touchdown pass to win that game 21-14. But in that game, the Giants lost to injury Lawrence Taylor, Jeff Hostetler, Mark Collins, and Doug Riesenberg.
As Andre Ware goes down in the win-the-game position with 1:07 left in the game. Minnesota, with no timeouts remaining, cannot stop the clock.
With 7 minutes to go in that game there, Pittsburgh better be careful. Houston can strike quickly.
And don't forget, coming next, the NFL Today post-game show. Greg and Terry in New York will bring you up to date with all the scores and highlights, let you know exactly what has happened today. And what has happened here today was a case of a lot of Barry Sanders, as the Lions will move on to improve their record to 8-4 and stay right on the heels of the Chicago Bears. Lane Font said before the game today, he didn't run quite as nicely as Barry Sanders that time, that it was awfully nice to be chased for a change. And the Vikings were doing just that all day long, chasing Barry Sanders, who finished the day with 23 carries for 220 yards. Eric Kramer, successful again. Today represented his 4th start, and he improves the Lions to 8-4. So Randy, the Lions certainly on a nice emotional high as they gear and aim for the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving Day.
Exactly. If they can get through that Chicago game this Thursday, which you'll see right here on CBS on Thanksgiving, that'll put them at 9-4 and 1 game behind the Chicago Bears. Everything is focused there now.
So for Randy Cross, this is James Brown saying so long from the Metrodome, where the final score, Lions 34, Vikings 14. Coming up next on the NFL Today post-game show, Greg and Terry with
34-14. What an outstanding afternoon for Lions running back Barry Sanders. He's standing by right now with James Brown and Randy Cross. JB?
All right, Greg, thank you very much. And it was an impressive showing today by Barry Sanders. 23 carries, 220 yards. And Randy, I mean, he did everything we talked about at the top of the show.
It was a perfect combination of things. He got an offensive line today that blocked wonderfully for Barry, and Barry created about half those yards himself.
All right, and Barry Sanders joins us now down on the field. Barry, let me ask you, I know you've had some great highlight films in college and certainly early on in your career, but anything better than today?
Today was excellent day for the team. You know, like you said before, Randy, there's a lot of room to run, and you know, that's when I'm best, when I have room to run and make guys miss and get open room and try to get to the end zone.
Barry, one of the things we were speculating on at the top of the show was about the inspirational, if you will, push of Mike Utley. Did that have anything to do with the performance today, or was it strictly just football?
For everyone on the team pretty much had Mike on their mind. We even wore T-shirts that were dedicated to Mike. You know, we said a prayer for him. We kneeled at the beginning of the game at the center of the field just for a private moment for Mike. So it was a boost of inspiration for everyone thinking about Mike, and this one was definitely for him.
And Barry, we got a couple plays for you to look at. If you could sort of take us through your touchdown runs here. The first one here.
This is the draw to the left. Had to cut back. It was an open seam in the middle. Like I said before, there's a lot of room to run. We blocked them well, and it was a straight lane to the zone.
Do you ever worry about the fact that you might make somebody hurt themselves the way you make them go through contortions trying to tackle you?
I guess it's better them than me. So that's pretty much my philosophy.
And there's your second touchdown right there.
Yeah, it was just a slant to the left. The too tight offense that we brought in, and we blocked them well again.
And one more time. We're not repeating these, folks. These are all one day.
The other draw to the right side, pretty much what we saw the first touchdown. I had to cut it all the way backfield.
And just in case no one saw those, there were 4 touchdowns run by Barry Sanders today. That was a career high. Barry, I got to believe you guys are sky high and right on target as you gear for the Bears on Thursday.
Yeah, we are. We know we have to get a couple more wins, especially to get in the playoffs. And this was a nice win for us. We have to go on. And our attention is focused for the Bears right now. We have to get that win. They're on our way for the division title, and so that's what we're focused on.
All right, Barry, congratulations and outstanding win today. Good luck to you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Barry Sanders, instrumental in the Lions' 34-14 victory over the Vikings. Right now, let's take you back to New York and Greg Gumbel.
All right, JB, Randy, thanks very much. Now, although Barry Sanders came up big offensively, you say we should keep in mind the Detroit defense today.
I talked to Woody Wiedenhopper, the defensive coordinator for the Lions. He said the keys to this game today would be, he said, well, number one, we have an improved secondary, very important. He said if we take Steve Jordan, the tight end of the Vikings, out of the game and Anthony Carter out, between the two of them, only 5 receptions for 60 yards. He said that's when we always beat the Vikings. First time since 1962 that the Lions have swept the Vikes.
All right, let's
they
take
look
this.
good.
They did, and it's a good time to tell you we'll be back here on Thursday with our Thanksgiving Day edition of the NFL Today at a special time, noon Eastern time, and then the Bears will visit the Lions. They have done that periodically on this holiday since way back in 1934, but this year's meeting has plenty of playoff implications. And
7-5. Detroit 8-4. They're still part of the playoff picture.
Number 60, all the Lions wearing the number of Mike Utley, their paralyzed teammate. Barry Sanders, Detroit record, 220 yards rushing. Here's 17 of them. Detroit beats Minnesota 34-14. My voice doesn't make it when week 13 and all the division leaders come up short.
We're in Detroit this week. Didn't even think they'd be able to play football at all, thinking about Mike Utley. They played all right.
Tremendous job by that team as a whole, but particularly the offensive line. I thought that the holes they opened up for Barry Sanders, especially inside, just tremendous job by his position mates, the offensive line.
And speaking of position, now with the Bears losing, the Lions were in position at home on Thanksgiving. If they beat the Bears, they're tied for first in the NFC Central. We've got
on. The Redskins lose their first huge game for the Cowboys. Barry Sanders went crazy again, another brilliant job. Phil Simms relieved the injured Jeff Hostetler and threw the winning touchdown pass.
Washington Huskies, the latest 31-3 win over Ohio State. And for a guy by the name of Desmond Howard, a Heisman Trophy on the mantle, we'll see. Let's take a look at that action. Desmond Delight was served up yesterday when he scored his 23rd touchdown on a 93-yard punt return that gave the Wolverines a 24-3 lead. That was the longest punt return in Michigan history. He did not have a pass reception for a TD, first time this year, but who else would be better than striking a pose for the good old Heisman this season but a guy by the name of Desmond Howard. And hey,
Headline Sports, a day of injuries and upsets around the NFL, starting in Washington, where the Redskins' dream of an undefeated season went up in smoke at the hands of the Cowboys. Steve Berline, filling in for the injured Troy Aikman, hit Michael Irvin with a 24-yard score to make it 21-7 Dallas. They hold on for the 24-21 win. Washington now 11-1. They are in the playoffs but failed to clinch the NFC East because of this loss. The Cowboys were a confident bunch heading into this one.
You live from week to week. You know, you lose one, it's the biggest loss you ever had, and you win one, it's the biggest win you ever had. The biggest win that we've ever had is the one that's going to be coming up in the not too far off future.
More importantly was Dallas this week and a chance to win a division title. So I wasn't looking ahead and trying to feel that an undefeated season was our only goal.
In Tampa, the Giants' Jeff Hostetler left with a broken bone in his back. Enter Phil Simms. Simms hooks up with Stephen Baker for the 30-yard touchdown with just 16 seconds left. New York over the Buccaneers 21-14. Linebacker Lawrence Taylor also left this game after tearing a ligament in his knee. In Foxborough, Hugh Millen capped off his best day as a pro with a 2-yard run for the game-winning score. The Patriots shocked the Bills 16-13, just the second loss of the year for Buffalo. The Steelers upset the Oilers 26-14 thanks to 6 Houston turnovers. Neil O'Donnell found Dwight Stone with a 43-yard score. Gary Anderson kicked 4 field goals. The Oilers failed to clinch the AFC Central. Big day for Barry Sanders. He rushed for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns, both team records, in the Lions' 34-14 win at Minnesota. Detroit now trails Chicago by just a single game in the NFC Central because at Soldier Field, the Dolphins battled the Snow and the Bears, coming away with a 16-13 overtime win. Check out the catch from Mark Clayton. That set up Pete Stoyanovic's 27-yard field goal. Kevin Butler missed a 50-yarder at the end of regulation that could have won it. The Browns...
The third, Sanders went to work. He's the NFL leader in rushing and touchdowns, and he expanded on his stats this afternoon with no less than 4 touchdown runs, a team record 220 yards rushing, and Detroit ups its record to 8-0 in domed stadiums. They beat the Vikings for the second time in 7 weeks. The Lions now guaranteed their first non-losing season since 1983. Meanwhile, the Vikings have to win their last 3 games to have any shot at all at the playoffs. While at snowy Soldier Field, the Dolphins and the Bears who pick it up in the 4th. 13-6 Chicago, the high snap over Maury Buford's head. The attempted kick is blocked by Mark Logan. Paul Langford recovers at the 4. 2 plays later, the Dolphins score and tie this game up. Then the final play of regulation, Kevin Butler, 50-yard field goal attempt to win it. It falls short. They go into overtime tied at 13. First possession of overtime, Dan Marino goes deep. Mark Clayton on his back. Look at this, the clutch one-handed grab, 30 yards, takes it to the 6, super catch. It sets up the winning field goal by Pete Stoyanovich, 27-yarder right through the uprights. Miami gets the win in overtime, 16-13. The loss snapping the Bears' 5-game winning streak leaves them at 9-3. They are just one game in front of the Detroit Lions, whom they play on Thanksgiving Day. Meanwhile, the Dolphins keep
the Vikings roof, and the Lions wearing number 60 in honor of Mike Utley. A very emotional locker room today. And Barry Sanders here in the first quarter, freezing Jimmy Williams, disdainfully throwing aside another defender. 17-yard touchdown run, 7-0 Lions. Felix Wright said this guy is better in person than he is on film. The option for the Vikings. Darren Nelson does a nice job of it. Anthony Carter holds onto it, ties the game at 7. The Lions up 10-7 at halftime. Now, Barry Sanders had 9 carries in the first half, takes over in the second half. Got a huge hole from his offensive line. 45 yards. He has been quiet since 6 weeks ago against Minnesota, but not today, as he ran to the other side of your TV screen for 45 more yards. 220 on the day. 23 carries and 4 TDs. This is the final TD. Great block from Lomas Brown. 9-yard touchdown. Barry said, I didn't impress myself today, but he impressed everybody else as Detroit wins 34-14. The Lions are guaranteed their first non-losing year since 1983, their last year to make the playoffs. Lions' second victory over the Vikings in the last 7 weeks. Detroit on Thursday, big game hosting Chicago. Minnesota will have the week off. What didn't Barry do on Sunday? He broke the Lions' single-game rushing mark by 22 yards. It was the second-best day ever against the Vikings, topped only by a guy named Peyton. Barry became the 8th NFL back to top 1,000 yards in each of his first 3 years. Leads the conference in rushing and in TDs. Now, he missed the game in Washington in week 1, but he did play at Candlestick, and he did play at Soldier Field, and he did play at Tampa Stadium. Losses outdoors on natural grass on the road. Lions have 2 more home games, 2 more road games, each of the road games on AstroTurf in Buffalo to close out the year, so that's going to be a tough one. This was not a good day for the Giants at the scene of their Super Bowl title victory in Tampa. They had
We've got a lot to be able to play.
Well, it's got to be the most difficult thing for any team to overcome, losing a teammate in that fashion, such a tragic situation. It had to help his teammates somewhat that Mike Utley has been said to be in good spirits since his tragic neck injury that left him paralyzed last Sunday. But you still had the feel for the Lions as they took the field against the Minnesota Vikings. You knew how important this game was, and everybody was feeling for him. Surely Utley was on their minds, and the man he used to block for, Barry Sanders, paid tribute to Utley with his performance on the field today, as all the Lions did, and they thought of him in other ways. Utley still in Henry Ford Hospital, the Lions wearing number 60 on their helmets in tribute to Utley. Well, they came out inspired in the first quarter. Barry Sanders fakes one defender, then he bounces off another, goes in from 17 yards out. The Lions up 7-0. Sanders is so tough, TJ.
Robin, he is the complete package. Here he freezes the linebacker, Jimmy Williams, and then you watch his strength. When he gets hit, he has great balance, and he also has the speed to get into the end zone.
He certainly does. Rich Gannon can't move the Vikes. He gets nailed by Dan Owens, forces the fumble. The Lions recover. The first 4 possessions resulted in 2 punts and 2 fumbles for the Vikes. Jerry Burns says, well, let someone else throw the football. Darren Nelson, the halfback option, floats a 25-yarder to Anthony Carter. He gets popped. He holds on. Nelson, he is pumped about his first career touchdown. Now, AC caught a lot of passes, but Steve Jordan from
Brown University.
Well, yeah, that's right. He
never forget that.
He looks smart anyway. He breaks Ahmad Rashad's team record for most receptions with 401 catches. And then in the third quarter, first and goal from the 5. Eric Kramer does not call Barry Sanders' numbers. DJ Dozier gets the call. He goes nowhere. Second down, Reggie Rutland. He knocks down Kramer's pass. Third down, Kramer, too high for Robert Clark. Eddie Murray missed a chip shot, and T.J. Wayne Fonts is not going to make the same mistake twice.
And offensive line play a key. You see Barry Sanders, unlike he has to do most times, not juke and jive, doesn't change direction, makes a beeline to the end zone.
45 yards he goes. Sanders makes some great cuts. His third touchdown from 4 yards out, 24-7, Lions in front. Sanders on the draw play. Again, he goes for 45 yards. He doesn't get in, but it's a second 45-yard run from scrimmage. Touchdown number 4. Compliments of a great block by Lomas Brown. A 9-yard score. Sanders toted the ball 23 times for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Lions celebrate after a tragic week, 34-14. The Lions 8-0 in dome stadiums, and they're assured of their first non-losing season since '83, but that was the least of their concerns today. Their fallen teammate, Mike Utley, was foremost in their thoughts.
We don't have a cure for paralysis on this team. We're not neurosurgeons, but we do control maybe his spirits a little bit, how minute it might be. But maybe knowing him sitting back home, knowing that we won today, might put a smile on his face for a few minutes.
I think everybody wanted to win that one for Mike, and Mike, that one was for you.